What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to a new Patreon. So let's see if I can get this right first time. Mobile Mac 777. So thank you first and foremost to you for joining us on Patreon. So thank you very much indeed to Mobile Mac 777. Hopefully I'll get your name a bit more slick each day. Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Chris Hellman, NA Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Nathan Thompson, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Missouri Bear, Henrik86, Liam Nedrick, Erwin Jennisons, Abraham Mohammed, Dave Rakia Gafford, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, Felix Hung, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, Alexander Main, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. I've got a couple of people in the Discord server, so I'll raise the mic on them, and you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Yeah.
I don't know if Nathan is working. I wonder if he's working. He's pretty quiet.
Hey guys,
Yeah, it's-
Mount is Earth?
Did
you see the trim out slice
Oh,
blockade? I say is Eartherton still muted?
no, I'm good.
Okay, sure. That was a
Or
good
just a
video of
glitch.
what he put up the slide.
Yeah, they're like really certified retards. It's open and closed. Okay. Thank you.
If you go into the chat now, you'll see the same argument with other people. Cabin pressures on open systems.
Professor Phil Bell was just over in the arena this morning. It was quite comical. He got tore up.
Getting his ass handed to him.
Yeah. One of those, well, I might have to look into that. No, I'll get back to you.
I have a Mercedes. Why would they trust me with $1 million of equipment? Now, this is an exciting show.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just working. Can't really talk that much. Wonder where's 10th today.
Usually here by now, right?
Yeah, it's usually one of the first.
Are you guys getting any background noise from me?
Not really. I know there's always noise by me.
Glad somebody's brought that up because I wanted to bring that up, but I didn't know where I seen it. Yeah, read slides.
Okay, it's up on screen, Flatsoid. You be my guest. Sound
It's a
of
bit difficult
compressor.
to talk right now.
I was going to say, mic opens, sound of compressor noise. Thank you.
You can't see it.
Earth is a closed system that is open. Full stop. That's a violation of the law of non-contradiction.
My car is a fast, slow car. Sly.
Oh, what an absolute joke. He's even got the...
That was good.
Oh, it's Flatsoid. I was going to say he's even posted the picture that debunks him. It's not. It's Flatsoid's reply. Yes. Show me closed, open system, please. No, there isn't one. There's no such thing. It's just total nonsense. The problem they've got is their version of what the heliocentric world is an open system, i.e. Voyager could leave, right? Open for it to go out. Yeah? The problem is that it's also open for all the gas that's expanding in every direction at high speeds. It's open for that too. And it would all fuck off into space, leaving us with none. We'd all be dead if the sky was a vacuum, because gas has this tendency to fill the availability of volume. It's described with the second law of thermodynamics.
And in the other, I have a vacuum. And if I open the tap between these two, you will see spontaneously the bromine rush from one to the other. Now, that is the simplest change we can have, perhaps, because all that happens is a change in entropy. In this case, the expansion into a vacuum, nothing else is involved. There's no energy change, there's no temperature change, there's no change except entropy.
It's inviolable natural law. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space.
Okay, well, I think I know the answer to that. During the Prohibition, there were stores, there were speakeasies, they were closed, but they were open. In the back, a little hideaway door.
You see, this is what Tumblr's with the guys on Discord as well. That's why they're fighting now. Their planes have pressure with an open system, but it's just a closed system that they open and close and open and close. That's all they do.
Listen, you can't get around this. It's either a closed system or an open system. That's it. An open system, we'd have no freaking gas pressure, and like Nathan said, we'd all be dead. If it's closed, which it is, there are no rockets.
Yeah, I want them to show me Earth's
To go
cutoff
to the
valve.
moon.
I want them to show me Earth's cutoff valve that opens and closes all the time.
They gotta see Xanax for the sky valve.
So that's the new argument. We have a sky valve.
Yeah, that was way back. It was a few months ago, Johnny, through the sky valve in there.
Anyway, how's it going by your side?
All is well.
So you haven't seen any curve lately?
No curve, I'm actually heading into the city, so I will be able to see the Manhattan skyline from possibly 40 miles out, which is normal
Wow,
to
that's
see
great.
on a flat plane. Now, if I assume
Yeah, it's
we're
what
on
you-
a sphere, what's that?
Yeah, in reality we should see that. Not
Yeah,
on
but
a model.
I'm not putting myself on the model no more, Fatsoid. I will not put myself on a model. That's it. I see it. There it is.
Yeah, that's why you'll realize there's a lot of people that, especially the newcomers to the flat Earth arguments, they like to throw flat Earth models at you. That's when it's nice to say, I don't ascribe to any models. Because if you don't ascribe to model, you don't have to, because then they're just pushing claims for you.
I'm trying to talk my son off the sphere, you know? I keep telling him, stop putting yourself on a sphere where the radius is debunked. Look at the Earth as it is.
For some people, it takes time, though. I think he still has to get out of the programming kind of thing, because when they start, they don't see it as they're begging the question first. They don't understand that. You can point it out as much as you want. They don't see it as it. They just see it as science assumes, so it's science. That's all they see it as.
Yes, you're correct. He's 17, so he's going to be 18, let me see, next month.
Great. Yeah, at the end of the day, everybody makes their own decisions.
Listen, if the worst thing my son does is that he's a heliocentric zealot, then he's really good, because forget where I was at his age. I don't even want to think about it. New York is back because there's bumper-to-bumper traffic going over the GW Bridge. Haven't experienced this in months.
A lot of dead air on this pre-show.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Maybe Nathan's working on some sound or something. I don't know. Like coffee. The guys in Discord connected?
Yeah, but I think they're having problems. They keep getting muted. They say they're having troubles getting unmuted.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Is this Ed?
Nope.
Sound like Ed. Hey.
No, Ed's got the certain type of wine. Has the container, Nathan.
Oh, okay.
But that's not satellite. That is cable. And let's not leave out Beavis and Butthead together. You got Chucky with the gradient, Nathan. About the gradient.
What happened?
Yeah, I
Is
was
Nathan not
talking
here?
to him after the show. What was that?
What happened to Tent?
No, nothing. They just had some words, at the end. Him and QE. QE just yelling at people when they're bringing an argument that could be defeated quicker. Anyway, he's fine.
Right on.
I talked to him in the after show.
Yeah. Most of the time.
I do not miss this freaking traffic, I can tell you that.
Have I joined in on a really, really lively conversation?
A couple of words here and there.
Writing stuff.
Wondering where Tent is.
I don't know. I am not 10th man's keeper.
How you doing, Nathan? Everything good on your end?
Yeah, my preamp crashed. I figured that out though. So it's all good now.
There was a nice little cutout of Sliced Barcane. Open, close.
Yeah, I wanted to go through it, and I thought, well, as I was figuring stuff out, I thought if I play that, I'll see what's what and what's working and what isn't. When you want to go through everything. So I thought that's quite a useful way of testing that line. So I did. Hope you enjoyed that. That was it. I only edited that this morning.
It's always enjoyable when they make themselves sound and look stupid. I mean, really.
Yeah, I've been releasing a few extra shows at times that are seemingly, at the time, convenient for me to actually watch. So I get tied up doing other things in the evening when the Uncut and After show goes out on the second channel. And I used to sit and watch it religiously. And I know it sounds terrible. I miss watching my own show, but I do. And so I've been publishing them at other times. So I still publish them at the regular times, which is like 9 PM UK on the second channel. And obviously we go live in 20 minutes. But
I think it's essential because I miss a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff I don't hear until I re-listen.
exactly. Well, that clip came from something that was last week that was unpublished, at least to the main channel. It's it's gone out scheduled as it would to the second channel. What is it, 36 hours or something after the members get it? So it's kind of staggered out there, and obviously it just doesn't get as much publicity that way. But why not stick it out at an irregular time? It's already had some people watch it, so it doesn't matter that it's an obscure time. It's not like, oh, I missed that. It's like, well, you probably, if you subscribed, watched it on the second channel maybe a week ago or half a week ago. So it's not like the end of the world, but it means that it might expose it to a few people in different time zones, and I get to watch it. So that particular clip came from that video that I published this morning. I was like, I forgot that happened. Oh yeah, so I've trimmed it out, published it this morning when typically I don't publish any videos, so hardly anybody's watched it, but go check it out. I think I've called it Sly Sparkane is a Fool for declaring it's a closed system that is open. What a complete idiot.
Deze de Slice Sparkane is a Fool? Is that video?
That's the one, yeah.
That be it. But Nathan, I was saying that back during this prohibition, they had speakeasies all over the states. And the sign on the door would say closed, but if you knew the door to get in, it was an open door. And in the back, they did all their drinking.
That's fascinating,
So
Neil.
maybe that's what it is.
Well, maybe, other than we're discussing the laws of thermodynamics, as opposed to your speakeasy. So, colloquially, you might be able to describe something paradoxically seeming in thermodynamic terms as open-closed. But still, most people will still raise an eyebrow at your paradoxical statement. Obviously with qualification.
Gas won't stop?
Well, it's just qualification in terms of your description of how that is the case. It's closed by law and open by way of back door. But there is no thermodynamically closed and open systems. Either the system is open, in which case the availability of volume is the sky vacuum, and the gas can fill that availability of volume in line with entropy, or closed, contained.
Maybe the what do you call it? The rebellious gas particles got together and said, "Listen, we gotta let Voyager out, so we'll open."
Yeah, but what are they rebelling against? Come on, Owen gave it such a catchy title. Vapors against entropy.
Against entropy, yes.
Vapors against entropy, right? Entropy, second law of thermodynamics. So they're violating against natural law by just deciding to stop at the Kármán line. And you know what they wave as the Voyager goes by? Hey, mate, check it out, that's going out into space. We're just chilling here. We're not going to expand in all directions.
Hey, Nathan. Nathan, did you hear? Cabins are now open pressure systems.
What are now open pressure systems, sorry?
Aeroplane cabins are now open pressure systems.
I mean, I could certainly see that being argued in the respect that they do have a certain amount of transference from outside to in. It's controlled, but... I mean,
Yes, a valve that closes and opens and closes and opens. So it's open when open and closed when closed.
That's correct. Yeah, it's either open. It's very binary. But they control the pressure in that closed pressurized system, and if it gets too much, they let a little bit out, and so on and so forth. But yes, so you can argue it for either.
Yeah, but can someone show me the sky valve somewhere that's opening and closing for us?
No, it's just entirely open to the vacuum of the sky and available volume for the gas to fill in line with entropy. And fill it must, the gas just expands in all directions. I was going to go through, actually now we've done that, I'm going to go through a couple of the comments that Sly sent in reply, if you're all good with that. Be a bit of a faff to get it on screen, but I'll...
Run it.
It's teeny tiny. Oh, I'll change my mind. I can't read that from here. I'll give up on that idea. I mean, basically he tried to use the old pressure gradient straw man and saying, well, why isn't the high pressure gas at ground level expanding into the low pressure gas up high? It is. That's why we've got gas up high. It's created down low on the ground and expands in all directions, makes its way up to the top of Everest where men can still breathe, despite the lack of vegetation. And guess what? There's still air above that where there's nothing producing it at all. Why? Well, because it's expanding upwards. There's no gas being made in the middle of the sky. It's being made at ground level, then expanding upwards. But they're like, well, why isn't the high pressure moving upwards? It is. That's why you got gas up high.
I mean, just that alone debunks gravity.
Of course. Not down, not 9.8 meters per second. Up, making its way up to the top of Everest, right? Because obviously there's loads of rainforests and algae producing gas on the top of Everest. Oh, my bad, though, there isn't, is there? It's very desolate. Anywho. Yeah, we've not got a place called outer space. A vacuum. It's just ludicrous. And when they piss in the face of the people who believe in it with stuff like this Starman on screen now, I mean, they really are just laughing at them, aren't they? The ones who know that it's all bullshit. It's real, it looks so fake, Elon Musk. Well, they're just laughing at them. Duper's delight, man. It's outrageous. And when they defend it, the normies, oh, well, yeah, okay, now you've told me that that's actually supposed to be a Tesla in the sky vacuum. Then, yeah, well, I accept it as real then. Now you've told me that it's not just a joke, as most people see it as off the cuff. No, that's not real, though, is it? Yeah, they're claiming that's actually out there, in a place that can't exist because the sky vacuum would be an area for the gas that we're breathing to fill. Nevertheless, they claim that it's real and they claim there's cars in it. They're just laughing at you, really. They are laughing at you.
So they're claiming that because the gas pressure is not equalized, that there's lower oxygen as you go higher. Is that what they're trying to say?
Yeah, that's a red herring. It makes no difference. To have gas pressure in the first place, you've got to have containment. And they're saying, well, why isn't the high pressure, because it's higher down low, near to ground level, why isn't it making its way into the lower pressure if it's high pressure expanding into a vacuum, as you claim? It's like, that's not a claim, that's the second law of thermodynamics. The gas would fill the space. Free expansion into a vacuum's real. Demonstrable, occurs always, nature abhors a vacuum. But they use it as a straw man to get you to justify why we have a pressure gradient, which is a delta of gas pressure, which requires containment. Well, we do have the high pressure gas making its way up. There's just less of it being produced as it makes its way up, because the moment it leaves the ground, there's nothing producing it anymore. It's just making its way up and dissipating. I give a kettle as an example. Where it's being produced in the kettle, very high concentration of gas coming out the spout to the point where it can scald you. Whereas you put your finger above a metre higher, and it doesn't. And you go 2 meters higher, and there's even less. And you go 50,000 feet in the sky. There's very little of that kettle effect. But it still made its way up there, eventually. That's entropy. It's proportional to time. Up, not down. Not 9.8 meters per second. Not analogous to gas being bouncy balls poured into a fish tank. Not homogeneous layers with weight of vacuum above pushing down. None of those things are true. Gas just expands to fill the availability of the volume it has to fill. And if the sky was a vacuum, then that's an availability of volume for the gas to fill. And fill it must. That's free expansion into a vacuum, as described in the second law of thermodynamics. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe, we're all yummy gas in our lungs, yeah, all that stuff that we like, it wouldn't be here. Because it would just be filling the volume of the sky if it was a vacuum. It isn't. Gradient straw man, or red herring, I'll get that right one day. It's all they have. That's the only thing they have.
Yeah, it's pretty much been game over for a while. Like we're just going through the motions now.
Well, you say going through the motions. I say producing a high quality daily debate show.
I agree. I know. Listen, for your show, Nathan, I would never turn off a football game. I started watching this show. Oh shoot! I'm missing a rerun. Shut the football game off, or keep it on with you down and listen to the Nathan Oakley debate. You know?
Yeah, this guy in today's chat was, I think it's Turret3006 is his screen name. And he was like, yeah, I've been up for like 3 days straight. Because I keep pumping out the videos, right, at the moment. And he's like, yeah, I've just been watching all of them. And I'm really knackered. I was like, okay, so it's 4 a.m. for you. You've got to go to sleep, or you're going to go Tyler Durden. Got to admire the level of support I get, though. I mean, wow.
Yeah, when I first started watching the Flat Earth debate. Sorry, what's that?
I think it's just the key thing is that
But you used to have shows came on all different times.
Yeah, well, I was trying to figure out which was the best time, and now I've done that. That's now well established. You know, the after show always goes out at the same time. The live show always goes out at the same time. And yeah, it's early for some people in the States, but that's just how it is. That's where the numbers lay the best when I assessed it on all those different slots. I'm doing it again now, but with just, you know, extra added shows, and the scheduled ones stay as they are.
Yeah, but when you first stumble across it like I did, I mean, you're thirsty for freaking everything. So like on Thursday, I used to give 2 shows. I mean, I have my freaking time set.
Oh, wow, that's ages ago.
This has got to be on. I got to have reception.
That's ages ago.
Then 3 o'clock, there would be, and then Thursday, there'd be 2 shows. So like I was like, I have my schedule around the Flat Earth debate shows.
And you've been watching for ages then, because that was ages ago. So that was when I was building up the show. Obviously, I'd got a reasonable channel, not by any means big, but you know what I mean? I've got an audience. And the shows I was doing, Flat Earth UK and Mechanics of the Fourth Wall and Uncurved. Occasionally I'd do Flat Earth and the Hot Potatoes, a few shows with Dearth and Mark Sargent and all those sorts of shows. I was like, no, I'm just going to do this. Debates. That's it. So I changed completely. It's like when you do that, you've got to put everything into doing it. I.e., you know, I was doing it 24/7, and I'd wake up and immediately do it, and then I'd be doing it till the moment I went to sleep. And it's a bit like that now, actually. I've got to be honest. But that's, you know, I'm at the moment I'm making a bit of an extra effort. Whereas if I'd have continued like that, which some people do, you just burn out. So you've got to have a kind of plan in your mind. How long am I going to be doing this for? And how will I peter that out without suddenly just, you know, saying, oh, I'm burnt out, I can't do anything. And then suddenly there's nothing. It's like, no, you've got to slowly ramp it down over a very well thought out period of time and cut back on the excessive amounts that you're putting out at all sorts of times to gather as much audience as possible while you're trying to, you know, establish the show, knowing full well that I'm trying to establish the show as something permanent. You know, the longevity aspect was one of the reasons I picked this particular format. And like I say, you've got to try and snag as many people. Well, now that's established, and I know which time slot works best on both channels, then I can then go, okay, well, if I need to put other material out, ancillary material to that, where would I put it? Well, I can figure that out by having the material that I've got that's just unpublished, thanks to the members. And once they're done with it, a week later, say, it's like, well, none of the members are watching this anymore, so I can just stick it out into where the general public on YouTube and at a random time and see how well it does, basically. But yeah, the point being, I want to snag extra people. I want to grow the channel, obviously.
Yeah, my thing was when that time you went on Glowbusters and that whole thing happened with Bob Nodell, that really locked me in because I was like, wow, he's serious about this because he's freaking hacking this guy's head off, and it has to be done this way. So I gained a lot of respect for you with that, and then I was glad because another show came out of it.
What, the Ballbusters show?
Yeah, the Glowbusters, and then Ballbusters came out of that, so I was happy.
Long term, that was well worth it. And
upset what happened, but
yeah, well, it's only in recent history that, you know, Bob and I have kissed and made up and seem to have put that aside, and that's taken several years. And I assessed all of that before I did it as well. You know, I was like, this is going to be detrimental to me for a very prolonged period, but I'm going to be a hypocrite if I don't do it. So, you know, you made those choices, and, you know, it all works out well in the end. But during the last couple of years, there's been plenty of people who were on my side that became my enemy because of it. You know, now it seems everyone's sort of moved over to the light side of science, which is good. Although I still get reports back that that's not the case. But I'm like, it doesn't matter anymore. You know, it's only when it's going out to an enormous audience on Netflix that it needs addressing, in my opinion, and, you know, things that have been said in error need to be corrected. That's been done. It's all in the past now. People come to me and say, not necessarily with Bob, but with other examples, well, this person's now saying that, and they're wrong about science or whatever. I'm like, I don't care. It's just not really that relevant to me in the context of YouTube. You know, as soon as every other commenter's coming to me saying, you've got drift proven by this flat earther, it's like, okay, you obviously are under the impression that we've got 15 degrees an hour drift as the Earth turns underneath. Well, I'm going to correct that. But I want the person who's made that error to understand the error and, you know, so that they don't make the same error. They're on my side, right? I want them to be, what's the word? On the same side, singing from the same hymn sheet. If I'm going to be critical of something that they've done in error, and it is an error, you know, nobody's going to ever deny that. But, you know, hopefully, moving forward long term, me and Bob Nodell will have benefited long term. Short term, neither of us benefited. It was detrimental to both of us. But sometimes that's just going to be the case. And if you've got integrity, sometimes, well, as much as I joke and say, yeah, first and foremost, not joke, but say I'm a YouTuber first and foremost, that is absolutely true. But sometimes the content I'm producing, which is absolutely near and dear to me, you have to put that aside. You have to say, okay, I know this isn't going to be something that's going to grow my channel. In fact, the opposite is going to happen as a result of this. But it's got to be done for the sake of my integrity. In other words, going forward, if I didn't do it in those circumstances where every second comment's about Bob proving Earth turning, it's like, well, what do I do? Not address it because it's someone on my own side and it might be unpopular with other people who just want to back him up in terms of the new assertion of star rotation causing the Sagnac effect. It's like, I don't want to get into that argument. I just need to address the bit that's going out on Netflix, which is apparently we've got drift at 15 degrees. Well, okay, no, we haven't, because that would shorten flight times. Pendulum swings because Earth turns underneath, it knocks over the dominoes. Well, if it's turning underneath, it's turning underneath to give you this not actual drift. Well, that needs to be laid clear, at the same time pointing out the deficiencies in terms of the claims of science from our own side, because that's an argument at the time that we were really getting into and getting our points across and winning with. Now it's sort of old news. You know, the typical fundy knows not to come in and say science. They'll avoid it at all costs for good reason.
yeah, I remember that, and I was cringing, so I can imagine how you felt.
Who was cringing?
Oh, when I was, you know, did a Goldbuster show, when that whole thing transpired. I'm sitting in my chair cringing, so I can imagine how you felt, but it had to be done.
Oh, yeah, it was awful. It was not in any way a pleasurable experience. By far from it. Not at all. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now we are joined by Neil, Flatsoid, Paul, Arwin and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Woo! Good afternoon, everyone.
Wait.
Good morning.
Good morning, enthusiastic start, excellent stuff. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as Earth curve?
Well, the mind experiment is being discontinued of the black swan and the paradox of terrestrial refraction revealed on top of that.
Can I ask you a little favour, Arwin? Can you turn your mic down a little bit? Because you're louder than everyone else on the panel.
Sorry, I was very close to the mic. Sorry about
That's okay. It's like, why am I having to fiddle here? Generally, everyone's pretty much the same, other than you. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
That would also be a definite no.
Yeah, man, if only somebody had got some balloons that were in equilibrium.
Yeah, it's just that if things are spinning, it's supposed to be caused by the Coriolis effect, but not everything spinning around the Earth because of it. So they've designated the Coriolis effect as like a side effect without the primary initiation, without the primary trigger in order to actually cause it. So they suggest, for example, hurricanes are spinning, basically, which would be a side effect of the turbulence of the atmosphere moving separately from the Earth, because the Earth is spinning underneath. But the atmosphere isn't doing that. So how then is supposed to be the Coriolis effect causing the tornadoes as a side effect? So they have this, they've broken their own argument in a stalemate, but they just widen the gap of suspense of disbelief and misunderstanding to keep asserting that. It's bizarre how it works.
Special.
I got slide quite.
Hold on. Special Thursday guest. Hey, Adam. One of my favourite people ever.
Special Thursday guest.
Hello,
Good
mate.
afternoon,
Hey,
everyone.
Adam.
How you doing? How was chilly night, Nathan?
It was ace. It was bolognese, but yeah, it was delicious.
What age are up there?
Well, Owen's describing how it's nonsense that they attribute this word Coriolis with any association whatsoever to hurricanes. It's ludicrous, but yeah, you're right, Owen. It's just so silly. So it's a not actual deviation, yet something with an actual spin direction. They say, oh, it's got something to do with Coriolis. It's like, no, things travelling straight and seeming to drift because you're spinning underneath them. That's Coriolis. Nothing to do with winds that have actual spin directions. Coriolis is a not actual deflection. It's just so silly.
Do you think they ever studied geography in school? I mean, I learned a hurricane is about high and low pressure systems. It's got nothing to do with the spin of Earth.
No, well, it's not. You might be able to attribute that if the Earth was actually spinning. My God, those words spit. Anyway, the point is that it's not Coriolis effect. Coriolis is not actual deflection observed as you turn underneath. So something seeming to move because you're turning underneath. Well, that's not something that's got an actual spin direction. It's like, oh, look at that aeroplane. It looks like it's curving through the air. It's not really. It's travelling straight line, but, you know, we're turning underneath it, so is claimed, on a spinning ball Earth, and because we're turning underneath it, it seems to, not actual, seems to take a curved path. Of course, if that was really true, that assertion that globe Earth claims 15 degrees an hour, then we'd be turning underneath aeroplanes, and the continent that they're travelling to would come to them, shortening the flight times, and that doesn't happen. So that's actual Coriolis claims, things that drift because you're turning underneath them. Yeah, they're still travelling straight, they're not actually drifting, but you're actually supposed to be turning underneath them to have that Coriolis effect. In other words, for us to have it on Earth, we've got to be turning underneath stuff. They don't like that, though, because we don't exhibit any drift on Earth whatsoever.
But they don't expect to see
is,
that.
like 90% of the world has a different idea and have no idea what the Coriolis effect is. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's convoluted and double-speaked in Wikipedia in every entry, some of them coming from the Met Office talking about specifically hurricanes. Sod all to do with Coriolis. But there we go, it's there in the citations. Feel free to dig out the complete double-speak nonsense that is revolving around, excuse the pun, Coriolis effect. We move
It's
on.
just an illusion.
It is. But fortunately, we've got Simon Dan to thank that we don't have drift. No drift, Simon Dan says. Excellent. They don't even have 2 reference frames. Reference frames ruined. Thanks, Dan. No drift.
Don't
Moving
worry,
on.
Sly also says it.
I was coming to Sly. Go on.
Sly's also on the bandwagon, half with Neil deGrasse and half of Simon, you know. Don't worry, will be my latest video.
Hey, Chocolate. Good to have you.
Good morning, guys.
Yo,
What's up, Adam?
Hola,
What's up, Nate?
chocolate.
almost full Thursday panel here.
Yeah, check out our full
What's
panel.
up?
Nice.
Mad.
Yo,
Hey,
chocolate.
hey, also Mind Warped. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Very well. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Hey, mine.
Just
G'day,
need
g'day.
Riley, really, but he's too busy getting too many viewers, isn't he, doing his new crusade?
Yeah, he called me this morning with Roxanne. No offence to them both, but discussing things that I hold very little interest in. But therefore, I gave them short and sharp opinions about what they should be doing, so I could get on to stopping my kid destroying the lounge. But anyway,
That's why I asked you how things were over there, because yesterday it sounded like England was falling apart, according to Anthony.
well, they were talking about a journalist that they don't like, and I was saying, frankly, I don't care. But if Roxanne was to tell me what's what, I'd listen. So, you know, the people that are part of the propaganda, part of the problem, the journalists, and their attention to the wrong subjects, if you will, it's like, who cares? You know, I'll follow you. You tell me what's what if you know. Just tell me. I'll listen, I promise. And I'll respect your opinion on it. And if you need to be followed, as you phrase it, with these journalists that are being followed, because that was their issue, people are looking to them as the leaders of this in some way. And I'm like, well, you be their leader. I'd follow you. Roxanne's got a lot of, let's use a good word, she's got a lot of spunk. I'd follow Roxanne.
Yeah.
This is just...
She's a good protest leader, a march leader type.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
She's got a lot of charisma. She's pretty, good looking. That's important in these things. As much as I'm going to get shit for it, I don't care. That's
And she's not easily impressed or shocked.
Yeah, she's on
Very
camera
important.
making her points. People are not only going to pay attention in the first instance. She's already been photographed by the opposing side to propagandise her, and it's like, good. So they're scared of her. Oh, nice. Rub your hands together, Roxanne. They're scared of you. Good. They should be. Anyway, we're off topic. Let's move on. Any evidence?
I want to have a clip of Roxanne saying, scaredy cat, scaredy cat.
Let's do a proper plug for us. This is Roxanne the Globalist Denier. That's the name of her channel. And she does good work. She's out and about. She's very proactive. You should check her out. You'll love her. I promise. Proper plug for her. So that's Roxanne the Globalist Denier on YouTube. Moving on. Any evidence of the distance of the sun? Shout out to Roxanne.
Is that distance to the sun?
Yes. You got one.
Let's
Adam,
have that.
this is so exciting. What have you got?
Not me. I was just checking what we were
Clouds
discussing.
everywhere, I don't see it.
No.
Okay. Adam.
Yeah.
Dubay asserts that we've got a distance on a flat plane and a size for the sun.
Does
Yeah,
he?
he used sextants.
Really?
He used sextants for it.
What's-
Yeah.
He's been
What's-
saying it for
what's he
years.
got to
This
back
is not
that up?
5 years?
Right.
He still does that?
This is not a dig at Dubay. It's just the most recent person that I've seen making this claim. About 32 miles wide, about 3,000 miles up.
So that would be based on assumptions and angles, and the assumption that that is a physical place that you are able to triangulate. I think that's been shown that you can't triangulate. It's in different positions when you measure it from different places, isn't it? Even
Yeah, I vaguely remember doing something called Tracking the Sun on a Flat Earth Live. Yeah. Anyway.
But sextants, people. Sextants.
No, don't just say it. Break down what you mean. Sextant. Oh, what's a sextant? I'm dumb. I don't know what you're talking about, Flatsoid.
It assumes angles.
Yeah, it measures angles. I mean, I don't know what a sextant is. What are you talking about?
well, it's 10th. It is a good sextant explanation.
Yeah, that's a bummer. He's not here today. But can you just break down the assumptions, Adam, and then we'll move on to the molten iron core?
Yeah, well, for me, the assumptions are that you can take an angle from one position, take an angle from another, triangulate it to give you an actual physical position based on those angles. And that's how I think it's something you all assume. And as you said back in the day, that was one of the first things that went to be tested, wasn't it? And there was a bit of trans-plane cooperation. And I think it became quite apparent that just wasn't, it wasn't in the same place. It wasn't in a place when we were looking at from different points. It wasn't, you weren't able to put it in the same place. And F.E. Core's done a lot of work on that and kind of showed a toroidal structure to it as well. But so for me, you're assuming that the angle is, you're actually pinpointing something with triangulation by using this technique. That's the biggest assumption.
Right. Summarised by Arwin, physical assumption bias. It's a physical thing that's 32 miles across with a whole bunch of assumptions that you can measure it in its physical actual... Go on, Flatsoid, go on.
But you'll still be either assuming a distance or assuming a size. You have to have one to be able to assume the other.
Yeah, but when they're gathering their actual positional data, you've got this idea that it's a physical thing. Now, in flat Earth terms, they describe it like it's a bloody torch hanging over a disc. Now, this notion's ludicrous. You can't get to the sun. If you try and move towards it, what happens? I'm asking the audience, what happens when you try and go towards the sun? It's a totally intangible object.
It bends away.
It's intangible. You can't get to the sun. So how the fuck... let's calm down. How are you going to triangulate it?
I was just going to say that they don't assume anything. They take the distance and use trigonometry. They take the distance between the 2 points of observation of the angle. So you are measuring it. That's not the fault. You're not assuming a size of the sun or a distance. You're supposedly calculating the center point of the sun. But the assumption isn't that. The assumption is that taking these angles will give you a trigonometric position based on the distance.
Yeah, it's not a tangible object to do that with. It's not like a tree where you can then go up afterwards and verify it and touch it and say, oh yeah, my triangulation worked out perfectly, as you'd expect. But then you try and do that with the sun, and what happens when you walk towards it?
See, the problem is it's still just angular sizes. It's not actual.
No, Adam's explaining with the triangulation that you take the point from the centre. So in that respect, where do they get the 32 miles from? Well, they're going to just assume that, I assume.
Yeah, you could be critical there, couldn't you? But there's a level of certainty to that. A measurement between two geographic places, you could not be critical, overly critical there. I think that the fault is, as we said, it's as Owen described, it's that physical assumption bias.
Exactly. I don't take issue with necessarily with them giving it a size, although we could. It's more the fact that they're claiming to be able to physically measure something, and it isn't. What the hell is it? How can you measure something physically if you don't even know if it's physical? And when you try and get to it, it moves.
QE's just type trigonometry. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, all of these issues, right?
We don't even know what it is, correct?
Go on, Neil.
Hey, we don't even know what the sun is. Are we given its size and distance?
No, that's correct. But based on what we've just described, right, those are flaws in basic trig, would you call it, Adam? With this item?
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's nothing wrong with the trigonometry. It's your applications. Like with all maths tends to be correct. It's how you use it. Are you actually describing reality with the maths you're using? And no, you're not, because that third point, the top of your triangle, isn't necessarily a physical position. It's just where you're seeing the light from either A or B.
I agree, but I'm about to move on in terms of how the trig is then bastardized. So, based with all those inconsistencies and what I'm going to call errors, regardless of how accurate that is, to then take that and insert R to give you astronomical distances that are huge, it's just, it still has the same flaws that we're criticising in terms of flat earthers' assumptions and physicality bias. But people who are on the globe do all of that and then add in R.
Yeah, but don't forget, even the flat earthers add refraction to that. So they're already begging the question of, by doing that.
Flat earthers do?
Yep.
No. When you say refraction's real, right? When we criticise, you can't hold 7/6 over flat earthers who are accounting for the fact that light can change its path from straight, deviate from straight, refract. Well, it does. You can induce that effect. You can see that effect happening. That's real. But their refraction is 7/6 of the radius. That's not refraction. That's terrestrial, globe-based, geometry-based refraction, which is what they use, not us. So flat earthers apply refraction. That's not 7/6R.
A flat earther will recognise refraction, and if you would go back to the sextant again, when you're taking sextant measurements, you don't put any credence on any measurements you're taking below. I think it's 10 degrees, and that's because refraction, you're not able to define the position. Refraction will pervert the position because it's going through so much atmosphere. So it avoids you taking measurements below 10 degrees from my understandings of it. And that's a recognition that refraction is an effect, but it doesn't mean it's bending a presupposed rate of 7/6R. It's just recognizing that refraction is an effect, and for the accuracy of your instruments, don't take readings below this, because the refractive effect is amplified at those lower angles.
And that's something that you've got to be careful not to fall into, because we will often be called things like refraction deniers because they've got a bait and switch going on. Something real that they're going to substitute with something R-based and globe-based. So if you say, well, no, refraction isn't real, we don't have 7/6R, there's no such thing as refraction. Well, they're going to pounce all over that and show you how refraction's real because they've got a bait and switch going on. What about R? Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
No, apparently we got more than one.
Black Swan.
Luca Brazzi.
I still want to know what the supposed proof of R is from the Globers now.
They haven't got one.
Because they say terrestrial refraction, but it's a paradox. So what's next?
Nothing. That's it. Didn't you realise? That's it. End of the road for the globe. Game over. Dead. No more model. Left in a paradox. Imploded with a rebuttal that says they can't measure a geometric spheroid horizon formerly known as Earth curve as a tangent point required in geometry because it's bent. Dead globe. Model's dead. Totally untenable. That's it. Nothing they can do.
Well, there might still be some maneuvering room left within geometry itself through circumdicular geometry.
They've already made the move, Arwin. Refraction. They've made the move, and their move, it's like in a chess game, when you get to checkmate, yeah, there are positions that you could potentially move a piece when you're in checkmate, but it doesn't move you out of check. That's the position. It's checkmate.
All right.
They move the king
Checkmate,
left
mate.
in check from the rook. Move the king back. The queen's got him. So, yeah, they can move. But they're dead every square.
Well, they can still throw the chess pieces off the board.
Yeah.
Start over again. Start over again. from
What's
scratch,
the
like
surface level of that board again?
It's
What's
flat.
the surface level? Yeah,
Ah.
exactly.
But don't they just do that? Like Rumpus did that yesterday. It, like literally throw the chessboard off the table and then start from square, asserting again, boats go over the horizon. Like
It's pigeon
this
chess,
is what
man.
they do now.
Pigeon chess.
Yeah, but it's gone beyond that in the argument. They've got a point to the horizon in their geometry, and they assert that it's a physical edge that boats go over. And they're asserting that with geometry, and it needs a tangent. Well, their line to the horizon's bent. That's it. That's the end.
The geometric horizon and the refracted horizon appeals one another. Can't have them.
Yeah. So Rumpus's attempt to get around this Arwin, which was amusing to me because it's been done so many times in the comments, but nevertheless he attempted it, was to describe two circles butted up to one another to say that you can have a curved line meeting a tangent point because he's got a second circle meeting a tangent point on the first circle, therefore curve meeting curve, therefore I can have a curved tangent. That's his argument. Well, the tangent point is a point that a straight line meets both the circles. So I thought it was quite amusing when I was editing it. I was chuckling because each time I point out that he still needs a straight line and his line to the horizon is now bent because of the black swan, leaving them without the capability of geometry. Tangent required. Straight line. And they haven't got one. Well, his get out is I can still have another circle that I can bring in that distracts people to my tangent straight line I haven't got anymore. That was his attempt. That's what they've got. They've got nothing now. Literally nothing. It's a dead model now. The globe's dead, people.
What was his other circle now? Was it Thea crashing in to form
That's
the moon?
what I said it's the moon. I said, oh no, we haven't got the moon butted up to Earth to give us a second tangential point that could be curved next to the curved Earth that you assume geometry with a tangent point that needs a straight line to it that's now curved. No justification for that. It's just the end of their globe geometry. I'm not kidding, audience. The globe is now officially dead. Checkmate. They can't move anywhere.
So would the only thing left to prove what Rumpus was trying to prove be that a sphere moon would touch down upon the Earth and then they could measure the curve?
But a tangent's still a tangent. So they assume the ground beneath your feet is curved with this word tangent. What that means is when they look out at their horizon, like on screen now, if you call the tree line the horizon, well, you draw a line to it, straight line, that's called a tangent. But as soon as you've done that, the only reason you have a tangent is because obviously you've then weaseled in the assumption that the ground beneath it is curved. So to make their begging the question fallacy a bit more subtle, they assume a tangent. A straight line to the horizon that's a physical blockage for boats and buildings, and therefore they've assumed, without you noticing, that the ground beneath it's curving away, because they've got a tangent point. So they're definitely in requirement, to beg the question, of a straight line. Well, we point out that that straight line breaks their geometry with the black swan, and they go, well, it's not straight, it's bent. It's like, oh no, collapse of the model. You need a tangent, you've got a geometric assertion. So you need that straight line. You can't bend it, because bending it breaks the model. No longer can you assert geometry. And how do they bend the line anyway? They use the R value. Well, where's the R value come from? Well, the tangent point they haven't got. Every move they make on that chessboard leaves them with a globe model that's dead. Because it is dead. We were never on a sphere. It was never provable. It was on a very, very, very thin knife edge to begin with. That paper-thin facade has been poked through so much now that we're having to take fundamentalist religious zealotry that automatically assumes their outcome with R and say, look, R cannot work. It's so dead and buried now, it's untrue. I know there's still fundies out there that won't accept that. Earth's flat. It never was a sphere.
But that's all.
A paper mache model.
That's all.
Yeah,
was
the paper
laughing.
mache model has been poked through so many times that the friction of the poking has made it catch fire now. So
That's how I was laughing the other night with Bev talking to Kowalski and McTunan. They can't understand if you create a new datum that just shows horizontal, why would you want to do that? Because every datum they have first assumes R.
Oh, that's clever. So I never thought of that. So when you're doing a geodesic survey, you take your datum and say, I'm on the sphere at this point. My zenith points at this angle to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. And what Flatzoid's saying is, when you make your assumption that you're standing on a sphere, how about you just make the assumption that you're standing on the flat plane you're about to measure anyway as flat? And they're going, what do you mean? Don't assume a sphere first. That does not compute. Must assume spheres first.
Exactly. They got problems with us creating datums of horizontal, but they don't have problems of having datums that all assume a sphere.
Yeah, they've had it brainwashed into them that it's a mandate that they must beg the question from the outset. Been mandated. Oh, it's okay to beg the question. We already know it's on a sphere. Well, that's literally a verbal justification for begging the question. You already know your outcome. Why are you even attempting to prove it, you fundamentalist?
I think that's like the model, globe model is, what we're up against is, universities and space agencies and people with PhDs and like maths and science and there's, thousands of people just, so it's a big thing like we're up against kind of thing.
Not really. It's down to you as an individual. Who cares what anyone else thinks? There's people at large. I know this gets me crap in the comments from people who are very devout flat earthers and maybe a few of them who are a bit evangelistic about that particular belief. Well, okay. I know from observation that it's flat. I know from justifiable demolitions of their argument that it's a sphere that it's not. So I'm alright with that. Now, next man, he's not cool with that. Oh, well, never mind. So, is there a necessity for you to see it as some uphill battle now that you've realised the obvious and observable nature of your reality? Nah, man, just get on with going and doing your shopping and getting on with your life. And, when people say, I don't want to accept that, go, well, yeah, okay. Fair enough. As opposed to, well, you're brainwashed. Why? What's it to you? Everyone's entitled to their belief, right?
Correct.
Or you just don't understand. Immediate projection. They should be saying, I just don't understand, but they're blaming you. You don't understand.
Exactly.
But some people feel they're going to change the world and make everybody flat earthers.
But let's just ask the
information.
Yeah, you don't understand.
Let's just ask the apprentice, if that's the case.
Yeah, you don't understand, but you must...
Well, that's what I'm getting onto, Flatzoid. So
I'm saying you don't understand.
That's what I'm coming to, Flatzoid. So the you don't understand aspect of it. Is that true, the apprentice, when you've broached this in the way that makes it seem like there's such an uphill battle to convince the world of something that you know anyway? I mean, have you found that they just project it straight back onto you? No, you don't understand. We've got people in space, in a sky vacuum.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I get it all the time in Discord. And
Right, so they're trying to project their beliefs onto you. Well, at that point, it's like, well, you've got to ask yourself, do you understand this? By that I mean, do you stand under the obvious and observable nature of reality? Well, sounds like you do. Good for you! Happy days! They want to convert you to their faith. Now, I say, well, no, you shouldn't be doing that. You keep your faith to yourself, my friend. If you want to believe you're on a flying space ball in a vacuum, more power to you, but I'll not try and convert you so long as you don't try and convert me. And they're trying to convert you by way of your lack of comprehension of this model, this philosophy. Okay, just see them as what they are. They're zealots. Now, the normies, they may or may not come across this information. If they come here, they'll know about it, But am I going to go out and proactively preach it? No. Do I respect people who do? Yeah, great, good for you. For you, that's your path and more power to you. For me, not so much.
We only have
definitely
one Spurs
could
keyboard.
try and be humble.
Yeah, this is one of those that, with a few subtle alterations to your verbiage, you can easily weasel in this conversation if you choose to do so. I had that conversation the other day with 10th Man. We're both ex-salespeople, so we know how to lead a conversation down a particular road. So naturally coming up in conversation, Flat Earth isn't necessarily naturally coming up in conversation most of the time. It gets noted if it does because it's out of the ordinary. If it was coming up in natural conversation here, there and everywhere, it wouldn't be worth noting anymore. Now that simply isn't the case. Most of the Western world think they're on a sphere. We're a drop in the ocean here. We have to accept that as what it is. Now, when people take these stats in a very limited capacity, I might add, about the youth of today questioning the nature of their reality, well, that's fantastic, but it's a very small poll, and it doesn't necessarily mean that translates out into vast numbers, which people, obviously, if they've got confirmation bias that they want the whole world to be converted to their viewpoint for some reason, need that to be the case. Wow, the kids are getting it. Are they? Right. My kids, I'm very concerned about them having critical thought. That's what I'm concerned about. If they grow up to be heliocentrists and they've thought about it critically, more power to you. But I'm not going to stop them from having a different belief to my own. This has all got very, what's the word? Off topic. Get it back on Flat Earth.
I'll just second the point, Nathan, about your kids. It's not about bringing them up to be flat earth. It's exactly as you say, for them to be able to form their own opinion and critically analyse the information. It looks like we're starting again doing, you know what I mean? And I'd be spending a lot of time bloody arguing with them if they thought it was a ball, but yeah, it would be their decision.
Exactly. As long as they can assess information critically, then they'll do all right generally, kids. That is, not just my kids. Or anybody, not just kids at all. People, critically analyse what information you're being handed rather than just accepting everything for what it is on face value, and you'll do well. That's good advice, generally speaking. But most people aren't like that. Most people want to be told what's what. And that's kind of back to, it has proven useful to talk about Roxanne. So when I was talking to her earlier today and giving her the advice, just tell them what's what. Well, the reason I'm giving her that advice is because I know, matter of fact, that's what people respond well to, being told what's what. So on the whole, people don't critically analyse stuff. Well, I know that's the case. Is it saddening to me? No, not at all. That's life. That's our reality. That's the people we're surrounded by. Now, we can all cast aspersions on them. We can call them normies and sheep and stuff. Why? That's just how society is. People want to be told what's what. And a lot of flat earthers who think they're above that, they're the same. They're suddenly out, looking for the answers from their former masters. Well, tell us what the sky vacuum really is. Somebody knows. Oh, right, God, my God. You're just stuck in the same old you need to be told. What's what? Looking for your next guru. Ugh, it's sickening. But that's our society, as much as I can detest it. It's like, just laugh. Why? It's amusing, right? That's how people are. They want to be told what's what, so tell them. You want to be told what's what? No worries, I'll tell you what's what.
Not just looking up and saying it's a brand new day.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get it back on flat Earth. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Not from
You know
Nottingham.
what? P waves, S waves.
What about him?
No, but you must tell me.
In reality, we don't have a molten iron core.
Okay, P waves and S waves didn't get it right though. Last with the Kohler super deep borehole, or however you say it, 8 mile deep hole in the ground. Well, all their predictions with P waves and S waves, what was it, primary and secondary waves, were wrong. Oh, we're going to be going through some tin today. Oh, what do you know? We've gone through water. Are we going to be going through sand today? Oh, what do you know? We're going through granite. You know, they got it wrong. So if they can't get it right over 8 miles, how are they going to get it right to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Exactly. Yeah. That's the only thing I know on how they know, but they don't know.
Yeah, they're not to Star Trek scanners level yet with that shit.
Not quite. Adam, did you want to add something?
What, P and S waves? But P and S waves.
What P and S waves?
But P and S waves. That is the only rebuttal you ever get.
Oh, sorry, I didn't understand what was going on. What you were doing is rinsing and repeating on behalf of a Globed fundie.
That comes back to what we were just saying about knowledge and stuff. I mean, you've demonstrated that it's all right believing it, but you've got to go that little bit further and have. For me, flat earthers are good at this, as going that extra yard. And then there's a lot, I think, that do believe, but P and S waves is a good one, as you then exemplified it afterwards. But often we are just throwing P and S waves at us as if that's a definitive statement that's unrebuttable.
No, but Adam, what they like doing is saying, you don't understand, and then they want you to explain it to them.
I think a lot of us can. Just demonstrated it. It predicted nothing.
They should stop throwing P and S waves at us.
It's in man to want to know the answer to things. The way we're designed, I guess.
Any more on molten iron core?
Well, just a quick one, because there was something in Orwin's. I was just coming home today. There was something going on about the borehole, I think. They were on when it got to 8 miles, there was a bit of debate in Orwin's whether it was because the drills wouldn't go any further or whether it was too hot. And I thought it was the drills just wouldn't cut anymore. They just couldn't go any further. It wasn't due to any thermal issues.
Like they bounced off.
Did you get an answer on that?
No.
I've seen several different accounts of what actually occurred. Some describe it, I'll just sort out whoever's that, Sir Vagabond NYC. Sat with the mic wide open.
Oh, apologies.
Thank you.
Yo, what up, Bagger?
Good to have you, by the way.
Yo, what up? Who's that, Chocolate?
Sky's up.
Yes, sir. What's going on, brother? What's going on, brother? Good to hear you. Yeah, good to hear you as well, bro. I haven't been to serve in a minute, but I was like having a smoke. Started off the day with a little wake and bake, sitting by the river. I figured I'd crash this channel. I didn't have speaking permission, so I didn't think my mic was on. My bad.
What the hell is wake and bake? What's wake and bake?
Oh, we just walk around first thing in the morning.
Say again. What's wake?
You have to try, Nathan. You have to try it one day. Trust me.
Wake and bake.
Getting baked. Get it?
Come on, Nathan.
Come on,
Nathan. Bake it is.
What the fuck he's on about? Is it like a
It's
pop
smoking a joint and watching
Oh God.
something really woke.
Totally a different vibe. I'm thinking about Pop-Tarts and things, I was thinking, wait, gets up and bakes a nice cake for breakfast? That's crazy.
No. Not
Moving
that one.
Moving on. I forgot where we're at.
Yeah,
Any
Nathan,
evidence?
great show. I've never really spoken to you, Nathan, but a great show, man. I like what you do over here.
These sorts of things are just way above my head. I don't know. It's gone totally over my head.
Is there any new housekeeping questions? Like, should we try find a new question to ask?
The latest
We don't need
housekeeping
new
question is there any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics? That was the last one to be added.
Ooh, well, that Michael, what's his name? Michael Kakao-Kui or something, says it best that they don't use the scientific method.
Michio Kaku.
Oh, Michio Kaku.
Yeah, scientists don't know what the scientific method is today.
Oh, he said like no one in his field uses the scientific method.
They don't even know what it is, apparently.
You didn't say it with the slip of the tongue that's well rehearsed by Chocolate.
Give it to us, Chocolate.
Didn't you hear the beep?
Sorry, it's a little loud over here.
It's okay. We'll come back to it, but nobody in my field uses the scientific method. Just to
says it's a very tedious process.
Yeah, it's guesswork. That's what they use, not the scientific method. That's very long and tedious.
Wouldn't you think it would be fair, though, if you get paid for science to actually do science?
Outrageous. They just need to be able to make it up and make people think it's empirical.
Well, that's the whole question. Are they being paid for science? I don't think so. They're not producing science. Still, they're getting paid, though. So they must be getting paid for something else then.
Getting paid to hijack the terminology and vernacular of an empirical method known as science. They use the words that are associated with that method, that is empirical, to lend credence to stories they make up. So they say science, make up a story, and your brain goes, science, proven then. It's just hijacking. They're getting paid for hijacking science.
Yeah, because they have equations. Equations prove everything.
That's maths. Measuring stuff isn't science.
How do equations prove the cause of an effect?
They don't. Now shut up and calculate. Any scientific evidence?
Like time, it's an independent variable, so
No,
time is the cause.
Time's a concept. Any scientific evidence of gravity, talking of time as a concept?
Which one? There's a new entropic gravity as well.
I don't mind. Have you got scientific evidence for entropic gravity?
No. Nobody's ever observed gravity, so it's a bit difficult to have scientific evidence for it.
Yeah, it's not a phenomenon.
Are we talking about gravity, the force, or gravity that creates the force of gravity?
Yeah.
Gravity creates the force of gravity. Shout out to Craig, Fight the Flat Earth.
Gravity's just an effect. Come on now. It's just an effect.
Are you talking about the concept or the emergent force?
Perfect timing, Arwin. Yeah, effect, you say. I was about to get this in for Flatzoid. It's not a phenomena unless it's an observed phenomena. So if it's an effect, what are you observing? Paul?
Apple falls off tree, hits the ground.
That's a phenomena of apple falling from the tree, though, isn't it? So you want to find the cause of apple falling from a tree?
Yeah. How did it fall to the ground?
No worries. Well, there's a method for that. You have to assume your cause and vary it as a researcher. So what are you going to be physically varying and manipulating to cause the apple to fall from the tree, which is your phenomena in this instance?
Distance from ground is my...
So not gravity then? So where's gravity coming into this?
Mass attracts mass. So we're going to adjust mass.
Yeah, when you get to this stage, that's where you flounder. So you don't know how to then flounder well like a globehead would and reassert the same argument, maybe? That's my tip. Reassert the same thing.
Okay, height. Height is...
There you go. There you go. Yeah, so that's not gravity then. We could do that for 20 minutes, couldn't we?
But I can vary and manipulate, and it's proportional, Nathan. Come on. So
yeah. You vary height and cause
but
apple
it's both
to fall.
Elements of space and time, so it is space-time. So it is gravity.
I don't think you'd even validate this as an experiment, right? So you're saying if height, then apple falls from tree. What? That's not gravity. That's
Show
height.
some units with conceptions.
Height's not a cause. Let's move on.
The
Height's
whole
not a cause.
Excuse me. According to the great Brian Cox, and according to him, according to Einstein, gravity is not the apple falling down to the ground. It is the Earth rising up to meet the apple as it hangs in the middle of the air.
What a load of bollocks.
What size do things have to be for this mass attracts mass thing to start acting, or coming to fruition?
It doesn't,
because I can hold two things together
mass?
and they don't. Yeah, they don't start sticking together.
What is mass again?
It's 105-year out-of-date rhetoric. No, mass doesn't attract mass. That's been superseded. Hello? Superseded 105 years ago. Mass doesn't attract mass. Mass does not attract mass. 105 years out of date. Superseded by Einstein 105 years ago.
Nathan, I think does the null hypothesis hold true for that experiment though? So you could accept the null, reject the obviously H1, but if no height, no apple from falling from tree.
So
that's not a hypothesis though.
That works. So it works. So science does work because you bullshit. You accept the null and it's a load of shit.
Not a cause.
Yeah.
Right. What's height?
Because
height?
if the apple is not in a distance from the ground, then it's not going to fall.
What's height?
So you can accept the null.
What's height? The independent variable is not a viable independent variable. What's height?
Well, no, don't ruin that. But I just think
space-time.
The null makes a bit of sense.
Height is a part of space-time. Gravity, right?
Space-time's a concept.
I'd like to say something about Brian Cox.
I'm just saying science words.
Brian Cox.
I've got height is space-time.
Say something. Hey,
Got too many potential fundy players in the mix. I've got height is space-time. What was the other one that was thrown in there?
Mass attracts mass.
No, that's 105 years out of date.
Yeah, I know. I didn't say it. That other bloke said it.
It's the old and busted.
Yep.
Yeah, no, we're not going to be having a null with a invalid independent variable of height. No, sorry, Adam.
Don't worry, Einstein is also out the door soon.
Guys. Since gravity is supposed to be the bending of space-time, well, maybe height is just that.
Wait a minute. Don't go down there. Hold on. I want to go back to Brian Cox for a second now. If he's making the assertion that the ground is rushing up towards the apple, then he just proved that the Flat Earth Society was accurate and correct, right?
No, they're also talking, what's the word? Bollocks.
I know, but think about it. So can the Earth rise up? Like I'm in the U.S. and you're in the U.K. Can the Earth rise up to meet the apple where you're at, and also rise up to meet me with the apple where I'm at? Can that actually happen on a sphere?
On a sphere?
Nope.
So yeah, so only way that can happen technically is if the Earth is accelerating upward. So the Flat Earth, that's what the Flat Earth Society says. So Brian Cox just proved the Flat Earth Society right.
No, there is no force accelerating up a pancake with water spilling off the edge of it at 9.8 meters per second, as asserted by the Flat Earth Society. Their pancake flying up at 9.8 meters per second is also in a sky vacuum, coincidentally. Oh, this doesn't stink of controlled opposition at all. What with their gravity and their sky vacuum in the narrative, my God.
Yeah, I don't think anyone here subscribes to that.
No, it's there for big YouTubers to debunk. That's what it's there for.
I'm wondering, are they going with satellites too, or did they adopt the Satelloon system? Did they not go that far?
Satelloons like pantaloons, like trendy trousers.
No, satellite on balloons. Do they believe in satellites going in a circle hovering over the Earth, or do they address this at all in their conceptions?
They assume orbit.
Who cares? It's fake.
They assume it's been sent up to a sky vacuum and then perpetually falls around a presupposed spherical surface with this word called orbit, which just begs the question for them. It's a really good word. They love it.
Whoa. So
Damn,
they think
Kepler.
satellites orbit the flat Earth?
I don't think that
All
works.
hail
No.
Kepler.
We've definitely got balloons, but the satellites are claimed to be in a sky vacuum, so how their trajectory is working with an assumed orbit is irrelevant. They're claimed to be in an area that's not real.
And don't forget that NASA's the biggest purchaser of helium.
They don't deny it. They've
In
got
the
a lot
world.
of balloons.
Yeah, but you see, the problem is if they had to use hydrogen, too much bombs, too much explosions.
The amount that they buy is ridiculous. They're launching a ton of balloons.
Yeah, well, they have
And there's
to.
a rocket launch, they use
I mean-
huge amounts of helium. So
I mean, think about it. How long can a balloon stay up? So they have to keep
Just for Adam's
recycling.
benefit, check it out, Adam. Thea smashing into a presupposed prehistoric Earth. They've both got tangent points there, haven't they?
Now Rumpus's thing makes sense, you see. That's the only thing that diagram could be showing.
Oh,
Adam. That's when that Worlds on Collide, that Russian Tarkovsky or something, isn't it?
Hey, Adam, I wanted to ask you about my conception that Antarctica may be the spot where the moon actually dropped off eventually. And that when Ethia hit the Earth, remember, and then the moon ejected, is Antarctica where it basically was last attached to the Earth. And that's why the petrified wood was found on the moon, just like on Antarctica, because it's actually the last touchdown spot. What do you think about that?
You know, Adam's a highly educated man, right?
What?
You know,
You
Adam's
can see
a
it
highly
happening on that picture Nathan had up there.
highly educated man, and you're
You
asking
say there's
him
petrified
this,
wood
this
on the
question.
moon. Supposed moon.
That was proven though, wasn't it? Because they tested it against the moon rock. So you know it's the same as the rocks on the moon.
Petrified wood is.
But now it
you
makes
guys,
sense.
sorry, but are you guys saying the moon's a physical object?
But heliocentrism it is.
Yeah, they confirmed it with the
Well,
Antarctic
duh,
moon
they
rocks.
landed on it.
They travelled through a second law of
They
thermodynamics
drove a
violation.
dune
Skybox.
buggy on it.
They
Played
travelled-
golf.
They travelled through the sky
Played
vacuum.
golf.
They arrived at the moon. They gathered at the rocks that they could have only got from the moon. They brought them back, and they're comparable to the rocks they found in Antarctica that could have only have come from the moon.
And don't forget, the shuttle was made out of paper mache.
But this
The magic
put
trick,
the
they
whole
dropped
thing.
a hammer and a feather at the same time. Get the magic trick.
Where are the globies on this?
Can anyone hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, we hear you,
Yeah.
Owen. It's just everyone's trying to talk
Nobody
at the same
I
time.
was talking and I heard you at the last second. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying that my conception of Antarctica being the last touchdown point for the moon before it ejected during the Ethia kind of makes sense within the suspense of disbelief of heliocentrism
Are you
and the moon
kidding
rock
me?
being petrified. I'm not done yet. And the moon rock being petrified would. And it would also suggest that there was life on Earth before Ethia hit.
Owen, I
And
don't
don't-
think this
and don't
theory
forget-
concept is based on the Earth shitting out the moon like an egg
Yes,
and
it is.
leaving like
Good one.
And Antarctica is
That's
like
true. There's a picture of that. Hold up, I'll find it.
Now I know why there's
it
so many
doesn't
penguins.
squeeze one out through Antarctica, does it?
Now I know why there's so much penguins in Antarctica.
It's too
They're
perfect.
Nathan, I've just been
cyborgs.
speaking
And
to
then
Simon
after all those
Dan
bits
in
flew
the
out in
chat,
space,
and
they
he says
started
he does
spinning
agree
around,
with
and
the
then they
drift,
all
so you have
came
been
together
lying
to form
about
the
it.
moon.
Everybody's talking over it.
So you've been lying about Simon Dan, Nathan. He does in the chat say that he totally believes in the drift. So you've either misunderstood him or you're deliberately misrepresenting him. You are an idiot or a deceitful twat. Eat one way or the other.
Okay. So
Yeah,
do you
that's
wanna
right.
tell me-
Is there a drift?
Everyone shut up.
Was there a
Everyone,
drift in
hello,
that video?
hello. Where's the drift under this guy? Bouncing.
Under which guy? What are you talking about? Sorry.
The example Simon Dan sent me. You're saying I'm lying, I'm misrepresenting him, and he believes in drift. Why would he send me
Correct,
this
he does.
example with a guy not drifting?
Well, because you're...
Stutter for me, you total clown! Simon Dan sent me a picture of a man not drifting, yet you say I'm lying and he believes in drift. So why on God's green earth would he send me an image of a man not drifting? That seems stupid.
You are misrepresenting him.
It's on screen.
Well, you want that
On
one,
screen,
Rumpus, you
for the
son of a-
audience. Dan believes in drift. Why is he sending me a man not drifting? That makes no
My
sense.
word.
This has got,
Yeah,
but what's
answer,
this got
Rumpus.
to do with? This has got nothing to do with the Earth situation.
said
And
it
people
to
being on
Nathan.
It's got
You
nothing to do with the
friggin'
Earth situation. Nothing to do with it. So why would he send it me then?
He's demonstrating the conservation of linear momentum, as far as I remember.
Conservation of linear momentum, your ass.
Sorry. And conservation of linear momentum proves what precisely?
Well, he was having a discussion about something else. This is nothing.
Sorry, I asked what that proves.
Sorry, what proves this video?
No,
He's
you said he's showing
demonstrating-
conservation of momentum, but you're arguing that he believes in drift. And I'm asking, why is he sending me a picture with no drift? And you're saying because he wants to talk about something totally different that's not drift.
Demonstrate. The tractor video demonstrates the conservation of linear momentum.
And what's that got to do with drift? So he believes in drift. That was your opener. He believes in drift.
You are retarded.
Hello,
Rumpus.
Thicko. You've just told me overtly that I'm lying because he believes in drift. Where's the drift, Rumpus?
Oh, this is not a drift demonstration.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Simon, Dan. Yo, Dan, you're talking about reference frames. And conservation of angular momentum doesn't prove anything because you're supposed to have 15 degrees an hour drift. And Rumpus, for the second time, has come in and said this isn't drift. Yeah, Dan's supposed to be showing 15 degrees an hour drift.
The aeroplane takes off a runway that's moving at 1,000
up.
miles an hour.
You numpty
It retains the 1,000 miles an hour.
I don't
And this
understand what's
video
happening.
demonstrates that principle.
Shut
This
up, you
video
liar.
demonstrates that an
You're a
aeroplane
liar.
will
Shut
retain
up.
the 1,000 miles an hour that it has on the runway. That's what this video is about.
You're not listening to
Nothing
liars
to
here.
do with drift.
You're a
You moron.
demonstrated
Nothing
numpty
to
dipshit,
do.
pseudoscience liar.
Nothing to
That's what you
do
are.
with drift. This is to do with
You're a
the
you're a
conservation
numpty
of
dipshit.
speed and
You're a-
aircraft taking off runways
Liar.
and retaining the 1,000
Can
miles
Simon
an hour
Dan
they
man
have
up
at
and
the
actually come on the
equator.
show?
That's
Yeah,
what
Simon
this video
Dan
is
man
about.
in here.
It's
Rumpus,
got
are you
nothing
Simon
to
Dan's
do
lawyer now?
with drift.
Yeah, why is
Nothing.
Simon Dan arguing
up.
this? Why are you white knighting for Simon Dan? Why is that coward bitch not here himself?
The chat.
Why is that coward who you've told us believes in drift, that's your opener, but now you're telling us all about something that has absolutely nothing to do with drift, like a slippery, scummy lawyer. Now, if Simon Dan believes in drift, which was your opener, where's the drift? Not, this is a different argument. Well, conservation of momentum when you assume Earth's turning is a begging the question fallacy. Now, I'd point that out to Dan if it wasn't for the fact that he said in his tweet that me and my reference frames are ruined. So I'd like to know precisely what reference frames Dan's referring to. Oh, I can't. I'm dealing with his slippery lawyer. Because Dan seems to have employed Rumpus to fight his battles for him. Well, Simon Dan, you've tweeted this shite, and apparently, according to your scummy lawyer, you believe in drift. So where's the drift, Dan? You know, second time in a row, you've got your white knight coming here defending you. Obviously, this is a bit of a problem. We want drift. Bob's supposed to have proven 15 degrees an hour, and yet we're being shown no drift and told that we conserve momentum. No 15 degrees an hour drift, then. Where's the drift? I thought the ball left the ground and Earth turned underneath it. That's Neil deGrasse Tyson's claim. Drift. Well, he's not arguing that the ball's conserving momentum now, is he? He's arguing drift. But Simon Dan stands in opposition still, not lying, as Rumpus has come in with his slippery, he's not talking about drift. Yeah, that's our point. Well, let's talk about conservation of angular momentum, which isn't proving Earth spins. Just my way of begging the question. No, sorry, we need drift. I'm told all the time how drift proves Earth spinning. Conservation of linear momentum, that's not what Neil deGrasse Tyson says. He says you leave the ground, stuff spins underneath. That's what he says. I can't help what Neil deGrasse Tyson says about the football. You know, I can't help that. Now, I also can't help that while I explain this in detail, just show the audience. So we've got Rumpus flashing away constantly because he doesn't want to listen to any of this. He wants to come in and claim I'm a liar. And then when I point out how I'm not lying, you need 15 degrees an hour drift, and this is not that. Dan's told me all about specifically reference frames. Well, you've got an example that's supposed to prove Earth spins that uses reference frames. 15 degrees an hour drift of items not attached to Earth as it spins underneath. And this doesn't show that. So you telling me he's arguing something else isn't going to fly. You're not Simon Dan, Rumpus. And I know you're not listening to a word. You're flashing away because you're not listening to me. Because it's fundy mute time when your biggest globe is getting teabagged by a flat earther. You need a scummy lawyer to come in and say he's not talking about drift. Yeah, we know. You're not talking about drift, Dan. Second time in a row, Rumpus has come in and confirmed it. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. Massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Promise Simon
Well,
Dan is he
salesman
needs a
came in,
script.
has chocolate.
If he doesn't have
Scaredy
his
cat,
script, he
Nathan.
doesn't know what to say.
You're a scaredy cat, aren't you, Nathan?
In chat. And then he got
Rumpus,
for no reason.
Rumpus, why you seem mad nervous about this little nonsense that Simon Dan has displayed? Because he's not displaying any drift, but that's the whole point, right? He's supposed to be showing drift. So why you seem so nervous? Like you're like his lawyer defending him now. What's going on? This is a problem for you guys?
I mean, he's either a liar or
He's
stupid
dead.
or both.
His model's dead.
Completely ignored you. Completely
Rumpus,
ignored you.
hello?
Started calling me a liar. Completely ignored you, Chocolate.
I said you were lying or misrepresenting, one of the two.
See, told you. Completely ignored you. Why is Simon Dan not showing drift is the
people
question.
A liar? When you're
Why-
a demonstrated liar?
Yeah, from a demonstrated liar.
Predicting, son.
Yeah, projecting his lies onto us, yeah. So I think Chocolate's got a point. He's asked a direct question. Why are you here defending Simon Dan? Why can't Simon Dan defend himself? Is this a big problem for you guys? This little cluster screw you've got of convolution being destroyed, obviously a big problem, right?
Well, you're a scaredy cat.
Scaredy cat is not a response to why you're here white-knighting for the second time in a row for Simon Dan, who's not showing drift. Now, you've said Simon Dan believes in drift, and now, just like before, he's not listening to a word I'm saying. When it gets to us bringing it back on the point, he's just fundy-rumpusing the entire Discord server so he doesn't have to address this. That's all he's got now.
Yep.
And he'll come back with scaredy cat, rather than addressing Chocolate. Chocolate's highlighting, this is a problem. You know, you had Coriolis covered with convoluted nonsense until now. Now we're boiling it down. You need 15 degrees of drift. Either you beg the question and say, we assume Earth and atmosphere travel together in the face of multiple directions of surface winds and using a begging the question fallacy. And it doesn't show drift, the actual rhetoric. So no drift in your conservation of momentum claim. So where's the 15 degrees an hour drift then in your conservation of momentum? You're going to die by that sword? No bother. And I'll highlight it with Rumpus talking through me the entire time he's here. No bother. No bother at all. I don't mind him not listening to me. He's only here to defend the fact that we're now getting really concise in our demolition of Coriolis. And Dan's the poster child for the lack of drift. There's no drift. Dan's showing it. And Rumpus is here because the man who's claiming it, Dan, is a coward. And he doesn't know what the hell to do. So it needs Rumpus to come in and call me a liar. Not lying. He's not showing drift. Reference frames ruined. Pretty straightforward. You claim 2 reference frames, Earth turning underneath, Coriolis effect drift. No drift. What's that? Dan believes in drift. Now you're going to tell me all about conservation momentum? That's not drift that Dan apparently believes in when he's sending examples without it. Oh, is that a bit too concise? Maybe a continual stream of interruption while I point that out. Yeah, keep it up, Fundy.
Bob measured the drift.
Oh, he measured the drift that Dan's not showing. So now we're back to why hasn't Dan shown this 15 degrees now drift then?
About vegetables, you'll be saying, oh.
Vegetables, yeah, off topic, some nonsense, right? So he's just said Bob showed drift. Dan's not showing drift. Thanks, Dan. No drift. Seems your lawyers here got your back covered. This is a big problem, Chocolate. I think we should discuss this further. Number one.
Can I quickly ask Rumpus a question?
Dan falsify?
Oh my God! You want to ask Rumpus a question? Are you kidding me?
So,
Quickly,
did Dan falsify Bob's proof for the rotation of the Earth?
Arwen.
Is that it?
On here, because now Flatsword's talking through Arwen.
Yeah, well, that's going on the entire show so far, but that's all fine. Nobody cares. I just said, let me repeat it. I'm probably going to be interrupted again. So, did Simon Dan disprove, basically falsify Bob's supposed proof for the rotation of the Earth?
Yes, he did. That's correct, Darwin. Bob's claiming Earth turns underneath at 15 degrees an hour with 2 reference frames. Dan saying reference frames ruined and showing an example without drift to justify why there isn't any. So these two stand in total contradiction of one another. And when we have Rumpus come in to defend it, his defense is, Dan does believe in drift. Now let's talk about something that isn't drift quickly, because he's not showing it. So they're screwed, right? They're totally buggered, and they need little lawyer Rumpus to come in and defend Dan.
Yeah, but he says he measured drift.
Yeah, Rumpus, that's why you're so nervous, because Dan ruined his own reference frames. That's what it is, Rumpus.
He believes in drift.
That's exactly why you're here, Rumpus.
Hold on, he's just said Dan believes in drift.
Reference frames.
Dan believes in drift. Why isn't he showing it? Why isn't there any drift in this video? Why would he be showing something without drift? Is he talking about something that's not drift?
Said in the chat he believes in drift.
That's lovely. Why isn't he showing it?
Right. Wow.
Why isn't he showing it?
When you say he doesn't, you're misrepresenting.
So why ain't he demonstrating it?
I'm misrepresenting him. It's on screen. Every time you say I'm misrepresenting him, you complete idiot. No, the demonstration on screen for the audience that recognises your projection is that the guy's not drifting. Now, Rumpus has confirmed, apparently Bob proved drift. And apparently Dan believes in the drift. But he's not showing drift, is he? It's on screen. Oh, what, I'm misrepresenting him. No, it's on screen. There it is, no drift. Plain and simple. Dan's showing no drift. End of claim of drift. That's it. Simple as that.
Yeah, Simon Dan proved the Earth is stationary. Thanks, Simon Dan.
Thanks,
We're
Simon
gonna make
Dan.
this
No
latest
drift.
rumor.
Thanks,
Rumpus,
Dan.
how many reference frames are you guys supposed to have?
The video has got nothing to do with drift.
Oh,
Rumpus,
right, thanks again.
Rumpus.
Yeah, this example from Dan has got nothing to do with drift. Yet you're supposed to have 15 degrees an hour drift. Why is Dan showing us examples without drift and claiming the reference frames you used to claim drift are ruined? Why would your own side say that the necessity for these 2 reference frames and drift are ruined? Now, I would say that definitely needs some fundy lawyering to happen. Because Dan's not going to come in. He's an abject coward in his echo chamber. No one's coming into his show daily, are they? But I have to deal with this fundy, don't I? With him flashing away constantly, not listening to a single word we're saying. But he needs to get his point of view across to the audience without addressing a single word we say. No drift. There it is. Not misrepresenting him. It's plain and simple. It's on screen. Keep showing it every time you claim I'm misrepresenting him. And I'm not. Dan says no drift. Don't have to like it. You do need to deal with it, and that's why you're here. To deal with Dan's error. His egregious error that flies in the face of a claim that needs 2 reference frames. According to Dan, they're ruined. And that 15-degree drift you say Bob proved? Ruined. No drift. Here's my example. It's on screen for my audience. It's from Simon Dan. You decide for yourself, audience. Does Dan believe in drift? Where is it? I don't see it. Anyone else on the panel see any drift? Dan believes in it.
I thought he was showing linear conservation of linear.
Misrepresenting him.
Oh, I'm misrepresenting him? No, it's on screen. It's on screen. I'm not misrepresenting him. The audience aren't stupid. They can see no drift. That's blatantly what Dan's sending this me for. He's even saying reference frames ruined. Your reference frames that you claim drift with for a globe Earth that ain't spinning, because there isn't drift. Dan's showing that. No drift. Thanks, Dan.
Oh, hold on. Maybe Dan's confused. Wait, Rumpus, can you clear it up for us? How many reference frames do you guys have?
You can have an infinite number if you want.
Oh, so you have frames of reference that you need to assert drift with? Infinite numbers of them? Well, if you've got infinite numbers of reference frame to claim drift, it's actually 2 for Coriolis, but there we go, Rumpus is thick. Why would Dan say that those reference frames have been ruined?
They've been ruined? Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Mumble. He said they've been ruined, and this lawyer doesn't know what I'm talking about. Yesterday, this specific quote from Twitter, the words he sent, I didn't understand them as misrepresenting. I've quoted him to him. The reference frames, the infinite ones they use to claim Earth spins, they're ruined. That's Dan's words, lawyer. What you don't know, your client's words.
No, he doesn't know the case either.
You only need one.
He doesn't know the case either.
Infinite number of them, but we only need one. No, that's wrong. You don't need one for Coriolis effect. To have drift, you've got to have one that's doing something the other isn't. That's what drift is. In reference from one to the other, you want a spinning reference frame looking at something that isn't spinning with you? Drifting? That's 2 reference frames. You're just thick. Are you alright, QE? 5 years and he still doesn't know what Coriolis is? Yeah, apparent deviation, 2 reference frames. Idiot.
Yep. He's a numpty dipshit shithouse lawyer. He doesn't even know the case.
You don't understand even the first thing about the Coriolis.
He doesn't know what conservation of momentum is. Let's try this since this subject's a belly laugher. Let's try this, Rumpus. You listening, Rumpus?
You think that when something moves, it leaves the
I got a scenario for you for your conservation of momentum.
No, he's going to talk through every word of this. This is devastating. He's not going to ever talk. He's not stopped since I started pointing out that Dan's not showing drift. Literally, if you watch him in the audience view, this light of Rumpus's hasn't stopped flashing the entire time. He's not listening to a word we say, but he's waiting for his opportunity to put his rhetoric across in defense of Dan's no drift.
Well, let's just use the audience this time. Just keep him. He could continue to talk. So, we'll just use Rumpus as he's listening. So, the Rumpus, you got a flatbed Ford, right? And you got your buddy.
He's
hey,
not listening.
Listen.
Not listening.
Okay, just keep him on mute. We'll just do it with the audience. So, Rumpus, you got a flatbed Ford, right? And you got your buddy in the back with a ping pong ball in his hand. And then you get on the interstate and you go 75 miles an hour, right? And then you tell your buddy through the little window in the back, throw that ping pong ball up in the air. We're going to prove conservation of linear momentum. So he throws that ping pong ball up in the air going at 75 miles an hour. Does that ping pong ball land back in his hand? You friggin' numpty dipshit. Over.
No, it doesn't. But they don't claim that anyway. They claim Coriolis deviation at 15 degrees an hour. And then we get someone like Dan saying that you and your reference frames, fundies with globe beliefs and spinning Earth, you and your reference frames have been ruined. And those reference frames are used for a Coriolis deviation claim at 15 degrees. And Dan's showing no drift.
Yeah, I think this was a ruination for their reference frames. And I think Dan really fucked up, which is why Mr. Greasy Lawyer over here had to come in real hot today and yesterday to defend this nonsense. That's what it is, Rumpus.
Use globe salesman.
Rumpus, you're as clear as glass, bro. You're not low about any of this bullshit. You realize that, right?
The moment I put him on mute, he put himself on server deafen. In other words, he's here to talk non-stop or not at all. He won't listen to anything under any circumstances.
Yeah, but that speaks volumes that he doesn't even want to listen.
His act was over in 2015 when I drug him around by his short hairs. Go see the debate on my channel between me and Rumpus in 2015. It was over then. It was over before he got here. He's a fucking
Rumpus can't even debate the bottle of Skittles.
Where's Dan?
Doesn't even know what science is. Second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth. The air is not the atmosphere, dipshit. Get out. Go back to the playground.
We do have a geometric horizon. We don't have a geometric horizon.
We do. No, we don't.
Bouncy balls. He supported bouncy balls.
He didn't even understand your illustrations in that debate. He's
Yep.
a moron.
Yep.
Where's Dan? Where's Dan telling us that it's conservation of momentum that this example is, and therefore flying in the face of Neil deGrasse Tyson precisely as I've asserted? If he asserts that things conserve momentum of a spinning Earth, then the ball wouldn't drift from the stand as asserted by Neil deGrasse Tyson. That was my original claim, and I stand by it. It's absolutely in contradiction to Neil deGrasse Tyson to show an example and claim reference frames ruined and show no drift. He's saying conservation of momentum. Fine. Okay. So you're saying there's no drift, Dan? Well, Neil deGrasse Tyson says that something leaves a football field and Earth turns underneath it, moving the goalposts. So the field goal's made because Earth turns underneath. And the observation is called Coriolis effect. You're saying reference frames used by Neil deGrasse Tyson in that example are ruined. And then you're showing that there isn't any drift. This is an example of things not drifting, like Neil deGrasse Tyson says the ball drifted at 15 degrees an hour. So we're still in the same position. Your slimy lawyering rumpus didn't work. Dan's still fucked. And I'm Nathan Oakley and telling him so. Where are you, coward Dan? Still gonna... What? Ponder around your echo chamber with your picture of me behind you? Your little car bust of me looking down your neck? Yeah, good. I'll look down your neck, my friend. You're not showing any drift. Maybe you should get together with Bob Nodell and point out that, no, mate, things that leave a claim to be spinning Earth don't have the Earth turning underneath them. Reference frames ruined. Right, Dan? Shout out from the hilltops, mate. Your tweet's getting enough exposure for everyone to recognise how thick you are, and I'm proud to tell you so. Thick.
Yep. Simon. Sorry.
Go on, Owen.
Simon Dan proved the Earth is stationary. Thanks, Simon Dan. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Why he didn't send the video to Neil deGrasse? Why he sent it to you?
For some stupid reason, Dan thought they were my reference frames. He phrased it you and your reference frames when tweeting me, not realising that I don't require frames of reference to claim anything. Yet deGrasse Tyson does. He claims drift as things move underneath. You see him drift away. Yet he shows his bouncing man not drifting away from the trampoline moving underneath. Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson says Earth moves underneath a ball, though. So that's a big problem. It's going to need some smart lawyering. It's going to need the lawyer to say, yeah, because the priest Tyson says drift. Even though I'm not Simon Dan believes in drift. Do you, Dan? You saying that in the comments? Are you for your lawyer? Well, get your ass in here so you can tell us about the conservation of momentum that doesn't give you drift. Tell us all about it. And then I'll point out that this example would be flying in the face of Neil deGrasse Tyson's example, exactly as I asserted. So we're still in the same stalemate. You losing your claim that we've got 15 degrees. Bob, you need to be thanking this dick. So Bob Nodell, get in touch with Simon Dan, say thank you to him. Because he's saying no drift.
It's the same argument I'm sitting with.
What he proved on the end, I didn't understand. That we have one reference frame.
Yeah, he proved that the example they used with 2 reference frames, Coriolis deviation, is ruined. That's what Dan proved. Kudos, Dan.
Why he don't try with 4 tractors in different directions?
No. I think he tweeted me thinking that somehow I use reference frames to claim something. And I just pointed out that actually it's Neil deGrasse Tyson claiming the antithesis of what he's showing. That's a big problem. You're a big fundy globe proponent, and yet you're completely defying the rhetoric of the priests. That's going to be a problem. Embarrassing, Dan. Wow, devout heliocentrist there. Telling me no drift. Telling me conservation momentum. But you do believe in drift. You believe in it, right, Dan? Shame you're not showing it. Shame it's actually an example of no drift. When you believe in it. How do my balls taste, Dan? Salty.
Simon Dan is like if someone's in the World Cup final and it's the last 2 minutes and he scores an own goal.
That's too quiet to hear.
Why would you mute him in side chat, though?
Why would I mute Rumpus?
Not you. Sleeping Warrior continuously muted Simon Dan in side chat. He was directly contradicting Rumpus, right? And Sleeping Warrior just kept muting him.
Muting him? What do you mean muting him? Where was he?
Timing him out. He was in the side chat.
Was he?
Why
It was his real channel, yes.
You sure that was Simon Dan?
Well, he has the V next to his channel name, right, for the subscribe account.
Okay. I didn't see that.
I'm sure Anthony was doing it for a reason.
Yeah, he did it for a reason, obviously, but I just disagree with it. And it was sad because he was contradicting Rumpus, in my opinion, right?
Okay, can you summarise that for us? Because it's recorded, regardless of whether or not it gets removed. That's
we will get them tonight again. We will get them tonight again at the replay, right?
Yeah.
No, I can't summarize it, but we'll get them in the side chat. I will be there also tonight. No, I can't summarize it. But it was about the reference frames, right? Because Rumpus is claiming that Simon Dad didn't say something that he actually meant.
Okay.
You will get to see it, Nathan.
So we have problem in the ranks. Is that what I'm hearing now?
Yeah.
That's
yes,
cute.
Chocolate, you are.
I didn't hear it, Chocolate. What did you say?
I said, so apparently we're having a problem in the ranks. Because if Simon Dan is in the chat going against what Rumpus is saying, but Rumpus isn't here thinking he's defending Simon Dan, oh, there's a problem in communication somewhere. Uh-oh.
And we could have dug into it, right? But we couldn't because he was continuously timed out by a Sleeping Warrior. So that was actually my issue. Why would he time him out? And Sleeping Warrior, obviously.
That I don't know.
Never mind.
Well, no, that I would prefer, especially if it's someone like Simon. And obviously, we're talking about him. So regardless of what he's saying, I'd rather it was there. Absolutely. So I will have our word. But by the same token, if it was seen by you, it'll have been on screen. Therefore, it has been recorded, and if it's
it is recorded, but it was just my flimsy, I just read it and poof, it was gone, right? And so it's in the side chat, and it will be on screen later.
Okay, so we'll get to the bottom of whether or not Dan actually agrees with his slimy lawyer Rumpus or not.
Exactly.
See if I can find any of these chat comments and highlight them. Oh yeah, so we. I'm
doing the same too.
Okay, so I can expose them on screen now. Have a scroll back through, and it's just at the very least dedicate them to the screen.
Oh yeah, you have them now. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
the rest of us have to wait until tonight, right?
Right. I mean, I'm not going to crawl through all of them, but by the same token, the one that I did just see flash by, I've put back on. Can't read it at this distance, though. Hold on, I'm going to get up and actually have a look at what it says. Give me a second. Yeah, he's moaning about being muted. Well, I don't blame him. Have a look, see if I can find any more messages from him.
No, it is mostly moaning, right?
I don't know yet. I've only seen one message moaning about me muted. He's moaning about the same thing you're moaning about on his behalf, to be fair.
And I am moaning about it. I think it would be justified that since you were talking continuously about him, yeah, and of course he should come in. It's a bit of a pussy call, right? Not to come in, or I mean, I didn't mean to.
No, you're not. I agreed with you. So while I'm saying moaning, it's something that's worthy of moaning about because I'm now having to go back through all the messages which could have been talked about by the channel or whoever. Hold on. Excuse me. It says, Rumpus, ask Nathan if he can calculate the drift of the man with only 3 seconds in the air. So, again, if Dan's asking me whether or not I would calculate drift in the guy, so is Dan saying this is an example that wouldn't give you any drift under the guy, there's not enough time for him to drift? So Dan is claiming drift with this example that doesn't show drift then. So, again, Dan, I don't claim anything that uses reference frames. You claim drift, and my question isn't, would I expect to see drift in this guy not drifting? It's, why have you sent it to me to demonstrate that there isn't any drift when your claim that's supposed to be proving we spin on a spherical Earth has 15 degrees an hour drift? So my question to you is, do you expect me to see drift in the 3 seconds if that's what you're claiming? So I don't really understand still, Dan. Why would you send it me? Is it so that I can analyse it for the very, very tiny drift that's not being shown? That makes absolutely no sense. It seems like you're showing no drift in this example, Dan. Am I missing something? Let's see if I can find any more messages from him.
No, that was about it. Yeah, maybe there's one more. This is Ace.
What a coward. Asking Rumpus to ask me something. I run a public show. He's being talked about specifically, and he's asking his lawyer to ask me questions about something.
Got a hot mic out there.
Go on.
Hello, hot mic.
He says, of course I believe drift, Rumpus. Not my fault. Hold on. Not my fault he didn't understand the video. What is he exampling drift with this video by that? I take that to mean I don't understand that he is showing drift in this video. So according to Dan now, he believes in drift. So what's this video for? He's still saying you don't understand the video. That's his reply. That's what I put out as the comment response reply, right? I don't understand the video. No, I don't, when you're supposed to be claiming drift and this video does not show that.
Well, there's the break in the ranks, because Rumpus said he was clearly demonstrating conservation of linear momentum, not drift.
Well, he doesn't say he's demonstrating drift. He says he believes in drift. So what is he saying? That he shows this guy not drifting, but in his mind he's believing that he is drifting? Is that what he's saying? So, Dan, is this example for me to be telepathic and appreciate that you're showing me something that appears to not drift, but you believe it is? Is that what it's for? Is this demonstration of your belief that we have drift when we don't have any? Oh, I figured it out. Dan believes in drift, but yet there isn't any. And here's him showing that there isn't any, in spite of his belief in drift. That's wonderful, Dan. So, despite there being no drift, as exampled here, you still believe there is. Wow, that's great. I'm glad we cleared that up. Dan believes in drift, but he'll be damn sure to show you that there isn't any.
They're certified assholes.
Yeah, they like reversing the burden of proof. Would you expect to see 0.3 degree drift in the 3 seconds? No, this isn't my claim. I don't use reference frames to claim anything. Do I expect it? No, I don't expect anything. It's your claim. You tell me what I'm expected to see in your example for your claim that would involve 15 degrees of drift if you're referencing the frames that you need for the drift. So would I expect to see something in it? No, it's not my claim. Dan still maintains his idiocy and burden of proof. Reversal. No, not my claim, Dan. How many times? You thick shit. I wouldn't expect anything in an example you're making.
It's funny because he says, "Course, I believe the drift, the rumpus. Not my fault. He didn't understand the video." So maybe there's drift in the video that we didn't see. Is that it?
Dan needs to explain. Are we supposed to see drift in this then? Is this supposed to be an example of the drift he believes in that doesn't exist? Great example of the drift you believe in, but isn't there, Dan? Is that what you're trying to tell us? I didn't understand that you believe in drift. I know I did understand that, Dan. It's part of your rhetoric if you're a fundy. It's claimed by Neil deGrasse Tyson. But yet, in spite of your belief in drift, you've sent me this. Guy not drifting. Well, thanks for telling me you still believe he drifts. So Dan believes he drifts. What a fuckwit. Dan, this guy's not drifting. You believe he is, do you? What, am I supposed to know that you believe he's drifting a really small amount when it's clearly an example of someone not drifting? You really are thick, Dan. This is humiliating.
Nathan, I'd like to say something. I'm going to use the Glober logic. If there's no drift, then we can consider it's not drifting. Right?
If there's no drift,
Like
there's
a
no
real-
drift. If P, then Q, P, therefore Q. Yeah.
If you wouldn't expect to see it, and so you can't see it, then how can you expect to see it?
If you can't see it and it's not to be seen, how would you expect to see it? You wouldn't. But you can believe in it. Dan's made that clear. He's told us the reference frames that are used to demonstrate drift have been ruined. He's made that very clear. They've been ruined. And now apparently I don't understand how a claim I don't make about reference frames and Neil deGrasse Tyson and all globe believers must adhere to because they believe in 2 reference frames, Earth turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour. They constantly quote Bob as allegedly proving that. But yet apparently that claim with 2 reference frames and Coriolis deviation, those frames of reference have been ruined, according to Dan. And his example of how they've been ruined is an example showing a man not drifting as something moves underneath. So he's not moving away from the tractor because the tractor moves underneath and he doesn't, which would mean that if you had a camera on the tractor, he would appear to drift away from the tractor when in reality he's just gone in the air and the tractor carried on going underneath. That would be an example that would be akin to not actual drift. But this isn't an example of that, Dan. This is very specifically an example of a man going up, leaving that frame of reference and not drifting. But yet you believe in drift, Dan. What gives?
So if we don't see it, we can treat it as if it's not drifting.
If we don't see it, we don't have to treat it as not drifting. It isn't drifting. Kind of like this guy here is not drifting. Maybe if you're a globe believer, you could believe he is drifting at a really small amount that wouldn't ever be a demonstration in this example. If you're trying to claim he was drifting, why would you show this? To ask me how I would show him drifting a small amount when it's not my claim? That's pretty weak, Dan. How would I expect to show your claim with different reference frames you say are ruined? I wouldn't. It's not my claim. It is Neil deGrasse Tyson's, though. He's got 2 reference frames you say are ruined. And he's got 15 degrees deviation as Earth turns underneath a football. And this tractor's not moving underneath the guy. He seems to be saying in the same reference frame and not drifting. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson's example with a ball that does drift. That you believe in? It's a big problem. Big problem, globe believers. The Coriolis bullshit days are over. Earth is not spinning. There is not 2 reference frames. Earth does not spin underneath anything not attached at 15 degrees an hour. There is no Earth-based Coriolis effect. The defence to say that it's all spinning together and there isn't a drift would fly in the face of the claim that there is. Now, Dan's fallen victim to this, isn't he? He's heard me so many times pointing out that Earth would turn underneath an aeroplane. He's tried to debunk that. No, it wouldn't. They can move together as one reference frame, no drift. Forgetting that they're the only one claiming there is drift. Earth isn't spinning.
It's been a while since we heard the pendulum
I was
argument,
say, that's
actually.
what he's trying to claim, because my son says that when he's seen that, he's saying he's showing that Earth and atmosphere move as one.
Well, that's no drift, no 15 degrees an hour then.
They seem to forget that that would take away their little Coriolis effect, which requires 2 reference frames. So
Exactly, that's what I told my son.
Yeah, like I say, Bob Nodell should be kissing Dan. Thank you, Dan. Everyone goes around saying I prove drift at 15 degrees an hour as Earth turned underneath the spinning gyro. That's what everyone says. Of course, they don't actually mention, they just say 15 degrees an hour as opposed to 15 degrees an hour as Earth turns underneath a spinning gyro. They don't say that, but that's what they're claiming. Earth turns underneath at 15 degrees an hour, giving you drift, 15 degrees of it, and they're all associating Bob with that bullshit. Well, okay. Dan now is associated with no drift. Someone mentioned pendulums.
No, I just said it's been a while since we heard that asserted as proof, right? I just wondered why.
That's how I detailed this to Bob Nodell on Globebusters. So rather than using the gyro to take it away from something that was obviously personal to him, I, at the advice of QE I might add, used pendulums instead to make the example more simplistic and not be gyros, but it's the exact same principle. Kudos to QE, because it didn't that particular aspect didn't end in a row, and if I'd have used the gyro, it probably would have. Anyway, my example to Bob was to say that their claim with a pendulum is that it swings back and forth as a pendulum does. It only goes in one axis, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The reason it knocks over the dominoes is because they claim Earth turns underneath at 15 degrees an hour, separate from the back and forth reference frame of the pendulum. So you see an apparent deflection. It looks like the pendulum moves to the side. Pendulums don't do that. That's not what a pendulum does. So they're claiming Earth turns underneath the pendulum at 15 degrees an hour. That's drift. That's what the pendulum's claimed. It's claiming 2 separate reference frames. The reference frames Dan says are destroyed. Ruined in his vernacular. Ruined, you say? The reference frames? Oh, I don't need reference frames. Who's claiming reference frames again? Oh yeah, the Globers claim 2 of them for Coriolis effect. And a 15 degrees of deviation, that's drift. So you're showing us no drift. Alright. Why?
Daily T's in there, and he was actually talking about a pendulum yesterday. Why don't you let him come in and explain it to us?
He can explain how a pendulum drifts as the Earth turns underneath. Then he can tell us why Dan wouldn't be towing the line with that. Even though he believes it.
Yeah, tell us whose reference frames
I
got
actually
ruined.
think Nathan explained it perfectly.
Yeah, also today, Rumpus asserted an infinite number of reference frames, right?
Wait a minute, Danny.
Yes, he did.
Danny actually said that Nathan explained it perfectly. So what is the pendulum proving, Danny?
I never said it proved anything, but what it shows is that the pendulum is precessing. The question is, why is it precessing?
Oh, great, but we agree. Everyone agrees that the pendulum is precessing.
Yes. The question is, why? How do you explain that?
You fundies, globeheads, say it's because Earth turns underneath at 15 degrees an hour. Separate reference frame. The reference frames Dan says are ruined because they're your claim, not mine. And him asking me what I would expect to see in terms of drift in his example is kind of irrelevant because it's not my claim. But nevertheless, the reference frames, the 2 of them with that pendulum example, is Earth turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour showing drift. The precession isn't actually a precession. It's just moving back and forth. But it's claimed Earth turns underneath. So the not actual precession is Earth turning underneath. The pendulum's just going back and forth in that claim. But Earth's claimed to turn underneath, giving you drift. The drift that the two reference frames give you? Earth turning underneath being one, the pendulum back and forth being the other. 2 reference frames. Those reference frames, Dan says, are ruined. Oh dear, Dan. Oh dear, oh dear. What's that? What would I expect to say? It's not my claim, Dan. Yeah, I don't need reference frames.
Is the the movement or the precession a cause and effect relationship?
Yeah, they're claiming it as a causal relationship. They're saying this precesses, it's not actual deflection, Earth turning underneath, that's the cause of the claimed not actual deflection of the pendulum. Yes, they're claiming a causal relationship.
Exactly.
So how do you validate a cause?
Yeah, you would have to vary Earth's spin, right? Earth turn.
Wow, that sounds like a really viable independent variable, doesn't it? Their assumption of Earth turn, you can vary that, can you? Nope.
Good luck with that. Maybe this QE guy, I've been hearing a lot about him. Maybe he knows how to do it.
No, that was what he would say. He would say that you have to vary and manipulate Earth turn.
Problem with that is, right?
Well, Danny's a glober, and he said it is a causal and effect relationship. Danny, how would you validate that again, please?
It's not a natural phenomena. This pendulum's a man-made item. It's not a natural phenomenon. It's not a viable DV.
Ah, that's true.
This can't be validated by science. It's just a bullshit made-up claim. They claim Coriolis effect is applicable on Earth. Well, that's Earth turning underneath with 2 reference frames, 15 degrees an hour deviation. That is the rhetoric. Yeah, needs 2 reference frames. Dan says they're ruined. Dan says no drift. He believes in drift. Gets better by the day, this.
Well, here I know Danny's not wanting to engage, but I know he said that actually it's technically a measurement.
No, it's not that. I can you guys hear me? I've been trying to. I think I'm going through a dead zone.
No, we hear you perfectly.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
Okay. Yeah. No, it just like I said, Nathan explained it very well. I think he pretty much nailed it. And the question is, we know that it precesses, right? We know that the pendulum does precess. The question is, why does it precess?
Yeah,
I have the cause. The cause is man.
We heard you last
Man.
time you said that.
Yeah, but we know what you assert as a globehead is the cause. You say Earth turns underneath the pendulum, giving you 2 reference frames. Well, that would shorten flight times. If Earth turns underneath the pendulum at 15 degrees an hour because it's in a separate, not attached reference frame, then anything that's not attached is in that reference frame. Anything that leaves the spinning reference frame. Like if you're on a roundabout and you throw a ball off it, well, it's not attached to the roundabout anymore. Well, likewise, anything not attached should spin, or seem to spin away from you at 15 degrees an hour as you turn underneath it. That's how you have Coriolis effect. That's what Coriolis effect is. You spinning underneath stuff. So if Earth's got Coriolis effect, we're spinning underneath stuff. And we're not spinning underneath stuff, it would shorten flight times.
I see. So we do know the pendulum precesses, but it couldn't be rotation, because if it was rotation, then flight times would be shorter.
Precisely.
So with airplanes versus pendulums, is there any differences between those two things?
Yes, the claim is that you've got 2 reference frames. The pendulum is asserting Coriolis deviation. So, I don't care. It's not my claim. You, fundies, globe believers, claim, not me, you, claim Coriolis deflection. That's you claiming Earth is proved to be spinning because we turn underneath things that aren't attached. That's your claim. Now you're asking me what's the difference between a plane and a pendulum. I don't care. It's claimed we've got 2 reference frames. We haven't.
Well, the reason I ask is there might be something that's significant about an airplane and how it travels versus a pendulum that is swinging back and forth.
Yeah, smartass.
Yes,
okay, so it's powered flight, right?
No. Hold on, guy. No. You're not getting the subtlety. To have Coriolis effect, to observe Coriolis effect, You are observing something in that effect. And you're observing something, not actually doing something, just seeming to do something. Now, it's you observing it. That's the effect. Not what the plane's doing.
Well,
what the plane...
I think we do know that... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's what you observe the plane seeming to do, but not actually doing. And the only reason it's seeming but not actually doing something is because you are claimed to turn underneath it. So the plane's not going to account for that. It's only an effect that you observe while you turn underneath something. So when we have the Globers tell us, well, the plane would account for it with its engines, or it would account for it with conservation and momentum. Well, that's not Coriolis effect. To have Coriolis effect, you need to be spinning underneath stuff. And it's claimed Earth has that effect. That's your claim. Debunked by the fact that we're not turning underneath stuff. It's total bollocks.
Well, I mean, it seems like you guys already know what the explanation is for why the airplane doesn't experience Coriolis in the way that a precession of a pendulum.
It's because the Earth is not spinning underneath it.
You guys seem to already understand that, you know, people will say, well, the air is, you know, not necessarily just stationary. So when the airplane is flying through the air, it's also, you know, using the air to continue to create thrust. And if that air is also rotating with the Earth, then you wouldn't necessarily see it as a second reference frame.
Yeah, I heard you.
Even when it's flying.
Yeah. I heard that the first time you said it. And for the second time, I'll try and repeat the subtlety that's lost on you. You're detailing what the projectile is doing, the plane and the atmosphere and them being as one. Sod all to do with you observing something drift, as is claimed by globe believers. That's your rhetoric. Your rhetoric isn't, they travel together so we don't see drift. That isn't your rhetoric. Your rhetoric is Coriolis effect.
Yeah, that... well, as far as
I'm nearly there.
I don't really.
It's only the third attempt. It's only the third attempt with you detailing something that's not Coriolis effect as a rebuttal. No, mate. What the plane does is irrelevant. Because what you're observing of the plane is the effect, and the plane isn't doing that. So literally, the plane and what it does has absolutely nothing to do with what you observe it seeming to do, but not actually do. So why are you telling me about a plane and what it does? It's only an effect.
Well, to be honest with you,
mate,
I wasn't talking about the airplane.
You were telling me about the plane and how the atmosphere and Earth seem to go together, and therefore there isn't a second reference frame. There isn't drift. We're not turning underneath. We wouldn't see the plane drift. No, I'll try again.
Well, that's what the explanation is, but
explanation
again,
for the
not,
explanation.
I got the explanation that
yeah. Explanation for there being no drift, as per your claim that there is drift. So your explanation for there not... I'll try again. I know this is triggering for you. You thought you were cocky and you could explain it with the... Maybe there's not a second reference frame. Maybe there isn't any drift as claimed. So like Simon Dan, you're saying there's no drift. Maybe it's one reference frame. Totally pissing in the face of the claim that there's two, and that we spin underneath to have this effect where things do things they're not actually doing, but only seem to because we do turn underneath them, according to your claim that's supposed to be proving we spin with 15 degrees an hour drift that you're now justifying not even having. So, justifying not having the claim that you've got drift then, why would you, like Dan, now be justifying not having drift when that's the thing that's supposed to prove we spin? Why are you now justifying not having drift when that's the thing you, not me, claim proves we spin with your pendulum or your gyro? You were very quick to point out that I concisely described Earth turning underneath it. You said how accurate that was. But now you've gone on to justify why we don't see that effect. Well, that's not proving we have the effect.
I'm talking about the pendulum.
You were talking about the pendulum. You were quick to tell me how accurately I described Earth turning underneath. But your glee concession that I accurately described Earth turning underneath seems to be countered by you now describing the antithesis of that. One reference frame, you say? That's not drift. So I'm asking, why are you justifying the antithesis of your example you said I got right when I described drift and Earth turning underneath, as per your claim, that we don't see in reality? And us not seeing it seems to lead to you justifying us not having your claim proof of drift. Why are you now fighting against the claim you made with the pendulum?
Well, I'm just curious why the pendulum precesses.
Who gives a fuck? It's not Earth turning underneath. And when we point that out, you say, well, there's a reason it might not be the Earth turning underneath. Yet you need to toe the line like Dan. You're supposed to be claiming Earth turns underneath. It just doesn't. That's why planes aren't drifting. That's why drones don't fly away from you 1,000 miles an hour while they hover. Because you turn underneath, like with the pendulum. Now, the thing is, I lure you into a false sense of security by accurately describing your claim of drift. Earth turns underneath pendulum. Second reference frame. Yeah, but then we get to the point that I succinctly describe that, and you go, oh, well, we don't have that. So you better quickly justify why you don't have your claim proof. Like I'm claiming something, like they're my reference frames now. So you've got to justify why my claim of 2 reference frames isn't happening. That's your claim that you're now debunking, telling me about the 1 reference frame with the plane. You realise that you're debunking your own claim then. No drift!
I feel like you're arguing with Simon Dan and you're thinking that I'm Simon.
No, I'm talking to you.
I haven't said anything like that.
Oh, right. Blame Simon Dan. This is a clusterfuck. You've got bottom-level retards like Rumpus coming in to defend Simon Dan. You've got mid-level retards like Simon Dan defying the overarching rhetoric that comes down from the High Priest of Neil deGrasse Tyson. This guy's picked up Simon Dan's mistake and is now blaming Simon Dan for it. You talked about the bloody pendulum. It's now your claim.
Yeah, my claim is that the pendulum precesses.
Yeah, and that would mean Earth's turning underneath it. And you're going to ask us, with a burden of proof reversal fallacy, for the 3rd time, why I think your need for this example doesn't do that exact thing with planes. And you're going to justify it with 1 reference frame, debunking your own claim. Your claim.
I'm just saying. Hey, all I'm saying is the pendulum does precess, and the rate. And here's the key: the rate of precession is a function of the latitude, which is kind of interesting as well.
No. If it precesses because of at its latitude, Earth's turning underneath, that's 2 reference frames. So we've already covered this 5 times, Mr. Rinse and Repeat Fundamentalist Zealot. We've covered this. Your claim, with latitude now thrown in for good measure, still involves Earth turning underneath a pendulum and 2 reference frames. When I pointed out planes don't do that, you started to justify 1 reference frame and ask me about whether or not I would see a 2nd reference frame if they were all 1. Now, I in no respect make a claim that needs reference frames, but like Dan, you are now defending the lack of drift.
No, I don't. I'm not making a claim about the drift again.
Oh, really? So it's dependent on latitude. What's dependent on latitude? The amount of fucking drift, retard.
No, the
Yeah, latitude and how much fucking drift, you stupid idiot. You don't know your own fucking claim. You stupid idiot. Why are you even talking?
All right, I'll stop talking.
Your pain, Nathan.
I'm asking him why he's even talking. He doesn't even understand his own claim. He's just said it's dependent on latitude. The thing that's dependent on latitude is how much drift you have. You stupid idiot.
No, the rate of precession.
Yeah, that's drift! Shut up!
Okay.
You stupid idiot.
Precession.
Shut up! Precession is drift, you stupid fucktard. You don't know what you're talking about. You're annoying me. Now sit down and shut the fuck up, stupid globe retard.
Nathan,
It's your show.
I made.
I'll
Shut up, or I will shut you up. You're thick. I've just torn a strip off you for your stupidity. You said it's not drift I'm detailing, after literally only moments earlier saying it's dependent on latitude. Well, the thing that's dependent on latitude, you fucking thick retard, is drift! Do you hear me, you stupid idiot?
Are you having a bad
Ed,
day,
shut the fuck up while I tear a strip off one of your stupid retard friends. You! What's his name? The guy being berated for his stupidity who was talking about the drift he claims with a pendulum that he's just said he doesn't claim when he's just mentioned the latitude that affects drift! I'm tearing a strip off you, you retard. What's your name, retard?
His name is Daily Teeth.
I know what he's called. I want to know his name.
Who, me? Daily T? You told me not to talk, though. You said you want me to shut up, so I'll just...
Yeah, and
I'll
you
leave it
didn't.
alone. I don't want to get
you.
You
didn't. Now I'm
I don't wanna
tearing a
get you
strip off you.
frustrated.
You continue to talk after I've told you to shut up. Now I'm the flat earther who's tearing a strip off a globe-believing thicko. That's what's happening. You thought that it wasn't drift. That's what you said. I told you to shut up. You didn't. You carried on justifying your stupidity. Now you're getting a flat earther telling you off for an audience.
Nathan, you're discussing this subject with somebody that thinks that planes fly backwards. Just so you know.
Yeah, I should calm down. I should understand that the only people who come here to talk about their globe faith are thickos, like this man, who tells you that he's not
Nathan,
talking about drift after telling you
I
that
made
the
a little
drift's
short
dependent on the
song
latitude.
snippet for these people from Master B.
They don't know their own claim. They're stupid. He goes on and on and on about pendulums and how it's dependent on latitude. It's dependent, that's drift. Yeah? But you don't have any. You're telling me all about how planes are in one reference frame. Thick.
Nathan, I made something on Master B for these trolls. I think you'll like it.
Let's have a look.
It's a sound clip.
Okay.
Oh, Danny boy, where is the drift you speak of?
Who was that?
Very melodic.
It was me.
That was beautiful, Flatside. Thank you very much. Anyone want to add anything to this heated discussion on drift that we don't see?
I was surprised you were still going. I made breakfast. Came back, you were still on it.
Yeah, man. They're running, I don't know why, for the first time ever, we're on the front foot with Coriolis. This has never happened before.
4 more hours.
4 more minutes. I've been on the front foot with Coriolis effect ever since I entered. They're just now catching up.
Yeah, maybe
conservation of momentum dipshits. They don't even know what the conservation of momentum is. Angular or linear. I don't think they even know the difference between angular or linear. That's how bad. They just, all they do is spout these terms. They have no idea with what they mean. None of them do.
Exactly.
None of them. That's why when I challenge them, they usually drop from the conversation. Like Mr. Magnetic West. Where's he?
Magnetic West.
R.C. Meisty.
R.C. Meisty. He kept on saying that nonsense too. Conservation. I said, what is the conservation of momentum? Boop. Drop.
Oopsie.
Mr. Magnetic West. That's his new name. He thinks there's Magnetic West.
Didn't he deny saying it? Like, he said it 3 or 4 times and then said, I didn't say Magnetic West.
Yes. Yes.
Love it.
Magnetic West and True West.
He said the sun was on fire one time, then denied it.
Yeah.
And then they went back and found it and played it for him.
That's what they do. That's the doublespeak. They'll say something. This is the new thing. They say something 5 seconds ago and then claim they never said it.
Yeah. Just had exactly that from this dude, Daily T. I'm not claiming drift.
Think think they think things through.
He thinks he's funny to talking about that, but the whole time I'm thinking, well, this is the guy who said planes fly backwards in the inertial reference frame. So,
Yes.
yeah. How could you sit here and say, oh, the question is why is the pendulum processing? Shut up. Y'all know exactly why it's supposed to be processing your ridiculous narratives, because the Earth is spinning underneath it. But it seems lately more and more you guys just run away from your claims again and again and again. It's funny. Just keep doing it.
What is the pendulum thing? I've never heard of it or seen it.
So-called pendulum?
The pendulum.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
So you've got a pendulum.
There's a live stream from Munich. I will get it.
So just to give you a brief
Then
outline
they
of
try
what
to
the
sound
pendulum,
so intellectual.
what the pendulum shows is, if you imagine a pendulum like in a clock, it's just swinging back and forth, right? Well, imagine that, but with a circle around the outside perimeter, and over the course of a day, the pendulum will knock over markers that are marked out like it's in a clock. But the idea is that it's showing two reference frames. So a pendulum only swings back and forth. It doesn't precess. So when this guy said the precession changes depending on your latitude, well, that's saying the amount that we have a deviation, because they don't precess. Yeah? It just goes back and forth. That's what a pendulum does. It looks like it's precessing, not actual deflection. It's actually you spinning underneath it. It's the Earth turn that's causing it to precess as the Earth spins around. So that's their claim. The deviation that you see of the pendulums don't deviate, is not actual. It's you spinning underneath as a second non-inertial spinning reference frame. You being attached to that is like you being attached to a roundabout looking at a lamppost. Well, the lamppost seems to move towards you. It's not. It's concreted into the ground. That's Coriolis deviation. And that's what's asserted to happen in the pendulum. It looks like it's precessing, not actually precessing. Earth's claim to turn underneath. Of course, if it was turning underneath, that would shorten flight times, because Earth would be turning underneath them. We would be attached to Earth, spinning, looking at the plane seem to drift. That's the claim, not actual deflection, drift. Oh, the plane seems to drift, because we're turning underneath it, as claimed. You point that out to a fundy and say, yeah, that would involve us turning underneath planes, though. And they go, well, let's imagine it as one reference frame. I'm not talking about the amount of precession that would change at latitudes. That's not what I'm talking about. The drift, the precession that pendulums don't have, they're not actual drift that the Coriolis is involving, the two reference frames. I'm talking about one. What would you expect to drift? I don't make a claim with drift. What are you talking about?
Imagination.
And what will happen if you put pendulum in helicopter?
I don't know. I don't make any claims with pendulums. They claim Earth turns underneath. So I don't care. It's not my claim.
When pendulum is on the reference frame, but if you put pendulum in helicopter, what will happen? Because it's not on rotating reference. How to explain?
Well, I suppose
it will not do. It will not do the job what it's doing on the Earth.
Okay, they would claim that the Earth turns underneath the helicopter. It's in the inertial reference frame. So the helicopter, the guy looking at the pendulum inside the helicopter, just sees it swinging back and forth, doesn't deviate in the slightest. But while he's watching it and they're hovering, Earth's supposed to be turning underneath them. It's not.
Yeah, I know.
So the Foucault pendulum just has perpetual momentum somehow?
Pendulums just go back and forth.
But how is it moving?
Nathan, don't forget that you have a cloud passing that helicopter. That's also important. You have a cloud passing that helicopter, you know?
Yeah.
You have Earth rotating, you have clouds rotating, and you have helicopter still. And you have atmosphere rotating. It's confusing.
Yeah,
the atmosphere.
If they want one reference frame, you put the clouds inside. If they want one reference frame.
Well, you got no drift then, so nothing to prove Earth spinning then.
Yeah, of course. That's
But no, atmosphere's an oxymoron. That was what Kiwi was trying to slip in there.
Shouldn't the Foucault pendulum stop moving? Like, what's causing it to move?
You tell me. It's your claim.
No, I don't know anything about it. I don't know.
Well, why are you talking about it then? It's your claim. That's the fifth.
He sounded like
fifth
he
time.
didn't hear
Fifth
the
time.
claim before.
It's the fifth time you've used
If
the
you
burden of
pick
proof.
it up, it's your claim.
Fuck's sake. That's the fifth
No, I
time
don't-
you've used a burden of proof
I don't know anything
reversal
about it.
fallacy. Fifth time.
I
No, I
don't
have
think
no
you're
idea.
talking
I've
to
never
Danny
seen it.
T.
Oh, he's a different guy. Sorry.
Yes.
That's somebody else. He was
Sorry,
asking
my
about
bad.
the
Take it all
pendulum.
back.
Yeah, I just don't know anything about it. Like, it seems to have momentum always.
Pendulum just swings
No.
back and forward. That's all it does, right? So when they show a pendulum not doing that, as described, precessing, they claim the reason it does that because pendulums don't do that. It's actually you turning underneath and not actual deflection. That's it. That's what they claim.
No, there's a motor pushing it, right? So it doesn't keep swinging. There's a motor pushing it back and
Yes,
forth, right?
That's also a problem for their claim. But I think that's probably there specifically for us. In other words, they could just let it swing back and forth. But they put that there so we attack that aspect of it. Rather than pointing out, oh, right, this is claimed to be Earth turning underneath. They go, oh, no, look, the effect is because of a motor. Like, sod that. Just say, yeah, okay, Earth turns underneath this pendulum, does it? Like I did with the teapot dude. Yeah, okay, Earth turns underneath the pendulum, so it'd also turn under a plane. No, one reference frame. I wasn't talking about drift. No drift. It's like, no drift then. Same trap Dan's fallen into. Exact same trap. Great, marvellous. Dan's not here to do it, but this dude was. Not you, the other guy.
Okay, so let's talk about it for a second. So that means that you actually believe that there is a correlation between the rate of the sticks getting knocked over and the latitude, but you don't believe it's due to Earth turn. Is that correct?
Who are you asking that question to?
Anyone who's making a comment claim, believers in general.
No, I'm asking, do you believe there is that correlation, Nathan?
Me? I couldn't care less. I make no claim that needs reference frames. So when someone says, well, do you think the I don't care. The burden of proof reversal fallacy, even our own side are so used to doing it. They go, well, what's your explanation for this gyro?
Yeah.
I couldn't give a shit. Your claim, you tell me.
Green-toed pixies, right? What's your explanation of it?
It doesn't work. There's no correlation. The correlation is purely man-made.
There you go.
I was just going to show to this guy who asked about it the pendulum from the Geophysics University of Munich. It turns out that their live stream is still on, but the pendulum's motor has stopped running, right? So it's just hanging there. Anyway, Eyes to See had a great series of streams late 2019 about this pendulum things and how the actual data, the actual videos of it shows that the perfect correlation that should be isn't there, and it's not consistent, right? So regardless,
Shocking.
there is some sort of precision, but it's not consistent with the physics books.
Right. Yeah, that's an aspect you fair to point out. Personally, like I say, I like to just say, okay, I'll take it as read. You say Earth turns underneath. Planes, drones, helicopters, hot air balloons, bullets, balls, right? Second reference frame. And then just point out that doesn't happen and watch them tell you all about how we don't have drift. If you want to get a fundy to debunk the claim we've got 15 degrees an hour, just give them an example that would have 15 degrees an hour and watch them tell you how we don't have it. Like Dan did. You guys know the chat commenter, Her Eyes 2C?
Yeah, I've seen that name.
Yes, that's her. I was talking about her.
Right.
She has the Pendulum series from late last year. It's excellent, very good.
She spoke to me in this morning's stream and said, would it be possible for me to take some clips from Flat Earth Debate and publish them on TikTok? And I was like, as long as you put a link to the original, great, it'll bring me some subscribers. So I said to her, I'll mention it, that you're going to be doing it. So I think she's going to be doing that, exactly that, on TikTok, putting out some debate discussions, like little snippets. So hope she does. Look out for that on TikTok if you're a TikTok user and you're 12 or whatever.
Nice. That's a smart move.
And you're 12.
Well, that's the key demographic for TikTok, isn't it? It's like tween, isn't it? Aimed at like 8 to 12-year-olds.
Not really. My wife watches it all the time.
Oh, really? I thought it was just for kids.
Yeah. No.
Is your wife 12?
No.
Oh, well, I stand corrected. I thought it was just like kids singing to each other.
No, it started out like that, but now everybody's TikToking.
Mauled man, do you have something to say on this Coriolis? Look, you're chatting away in here, boy. I know you're not a chat skank. Do you have something to say? Mauled man. Hello,
friends.
Hello, let's see what he said here. No Coriolis unless the pendulum drifts 1,000 miles per hour instantly. What the hell does that mean?
In the fuck?
Are you drinking again?
Hold on. Let's hear if we can get an explanation for this. I think I know where he's going, but let's hear it.
He hasn't come off mute.
For another show, if he's busy, we might get it another day.
We want it today. 4 more minutes. Bald man. Eric. Go ahead.
Well, he's not obviously coming. But
Wouldn't a pendulum be one reference frame anyway?
pendulum swinging back and forth is one reference frame. Earth claimed to turn underneath is the second reference frame. Pendulums don't process. The reason it looks like it's processing and knocking over the dominoes is because it's claimed there's a second reference frame turning underneath it.
I see where
But it's
going.
attached to the
There's
Earth,
something-
so how is it 2 reference frames? Wouldn't it be just one?
Eric, there's a swivel on there that they get away with that with.
All right, I gotta watch it. I don't even know what it is, so I gotta watch it.
It's claimed to be in free fall, right? So at the swing, at the end of the swing, it has a perfect equilibrium point, and at that point, the effect of Earth turn underneath is claimed to, change the apparent,
Shows drift.
Yeah, it's claimed to be drift, right? There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, they claim it drifts. Why? Well, because Earth's turning under it. That's the second reference frame. That's a Coriolis effect, absolutely in line with Neil deGrasse Tyson saying Earth turned underneath the football. That's what Coriolis effect is. Not conserving momentum and not showing it drifting through the goal. That makes no sense. He's saying Earth turns underneath the ball. So from the stands, it looks like it takes a curved path. It's not. It's going straight, but the goalpost is moving and you're moving with them. So that's not actual deflection, that's Coriolis effect, 2 reference frames. Earth turning underneath the ball, and turning underneath the pendulum, and turning under the gyro, and turning under the sniper's bullet, and turning under the aeroplane. Uh-oh. And turning under the drone. Uh-oh.
I listened to Conspiracy Cat's chat the other day. He mentioned you a couple of times, I think. Anyway, so what he said was that there was historical references to some guys in the World Wars that apparently had, used the calculations to calculate where the bullets would hit from these massive, guns
Wow.
Anyway,
No, they didn't.
yeah. So the
seems like a
obvious question is, why is it historical
campaign.
references? Come on.
Can you start, guys in Discord? G+. Go on, ask your question, the bit that's important.
No, it's just, why is it historical references from, some guys, some place? Let's see it. Let's do it.
It can't.
Yeah,
I want to
the
see
Earth was spinning
I want to
underneath
see the perfect
bullets
deflection.
back then. It would still be spinning underneath bullets today, right? We wouldn't need historical references, Mr. Conspiracy Cats clown. What a clown.
He is a clown.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need historical references. If Earth's turning underneath as a second reference frame, just throw a ball, and Earth had turned underneath it. It would seem to drift.
I think you were very on point, Nathan, earlier when you said that this is the very crux of their argument, and this is one of the reasons why Rumpus and all these guys, they're so nervous about this particular argument, because they're losing it completely. It's untenable.
So it's like every argument. They lose every single one.
Yeah. But it just caught me so funny how Rumpus came in. Nobody was talking about Dan, or we weren't even talking about Coriolis. And he comes in very hard to defend this little claim of drift by showing no drift.
And Dan's here in the chat. Tell him this, Rumpus. Yeah. Tell him this.
Exactly. Looking bad, fellas. Looking bad. And then who follows up? Mr. Plane Flies Backwards comes in.
I've been at high school. I've humiliated Dan, and he's come around with his little bulldog bully and stood outside the classroom sending in the bully, and he's shouting from outside, "Get him! Get him!
Beat him up! Beat him up!
Beat him up for me! I look really brave!"
Wow.
That he had to tell Rumpus in the chat, of course I believe in drift.
I believe in drift, and send something with that drift.
Why isn't he showing it then?
Because, that's how that works.
He believes
and then follows that up with, it's not my fault that he didn't understand the video.
Oh, he didn't understand it. Oh, man. You retarded coward. Sci-fi scam with 120 subscribers. Remember that? When I came on your channel and said, "Hey, Dan, what's a hypothesis?" And you didn't know what that was with 120 subscribers? You remember that? Then you blocked me? I remember it. You friggin' dumbass muppet.
With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!